not talk about family when family's all that we got. Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 29, Furious 7, Lap 3. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too. And this episode is brought to you by Budget Rental Car. When you haven't driven a manual in 10 years, rent one from Budget Rental Car.
Ooh.
Yeah, so,
Is that a sponsor of the movie or of your life?
it was appropriate.
Yeah?
They've been trying to sponsor some episodes for a while, and I figured now will be the perfect time for them to sponsor an episode. And I can explain why shortly.
We will get to that when we get to our extracurricular activities. But let us first... Actually, that's the first thing that's up. That's,
Yes, exactly.
So we recorded 2.5 weeks ago. We talked in the last episode about how we're recording early. I know, because you were going away for a week that we couldn't really record when we normally do. Yep. So we recorded a little bit earlier. And I still waited till the last minute to edit because I am bad at things. But it still came out nicely. I hope. Write in, family@cageclub.me. But, so before you do your thing... Well, I have a big... And it's not really a big thing, but like my fantasy baseball draft was here. I had a great time. Baseball is back. It's the best time of the year. That's pretty much the gist of it. It never left. The other thing I want to say before we get into your news, because that's going to be the main thrust of this, is that since we last recorded, or about to, you and I recorded a Channing Tatum podcast episode, Magic Mike's, and we're about to record a boyfriend material episode. So this month, April 2019, if you're listening now, you want more of our sexy, sexy voices, go check out those podcasts. We talked about Public Enemies, in which Channing Tatum was in 1 minute of.
Yes.
So that was fun. And we're going to talk about Drive, which actually is a fitting movie for this podcast. So I'm sure that a lot of people who like car movies like Drive.
Hopefully, yeah. It's a good
So
crossover.
April 21st, in about 2 weeks, we will roll out our episode of Drive over on the Ryan Gosling podcast, Boyfriend Material. So go check those out. That was the big things. And also, I saw The Beach Bum, and I love The Beach Bum, my favorite movie of the year.
Dude, I love The Beach Bum.
If The Beach Bum is still out near you, go see it. We will talk about it when it comes out on VOD on Zack Attack, because Zac Efron is so good in it.
I'm such a huge Harmony Korine fan. Like, I said it, but I just want to live in the world that Harmony Korine paints with his brain.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to live in the world in his head. Not in the actual world, but just, like, what he sees the world as in his movies. It's so perfect.
Zac Efron as Flicker. So at some point this summer, we will talk about that on Zack Attack.
Oh,
but
we will.
That's enough dilly-dallying around. You spent a week in Italy doing really cool shit, so why don't you... And this is also some behind the scenes that I feel like if we recorded more often, this wouldn't be as weird, but we even talked about your vacation because I wanted to hear about it for the first time here.
Yes.
So you've been back for like a week and a half, and I haven't asked you shit about like a week in Italy because I want to hear it here. So like,
and that's fine. Yeah, it's totally fine. Rachel and I spent a week in Italy. We were in Milan, Modena, Florence, Rome. Then we came home. Flew over. I said this before, but I spent some miles. Flew over business class. Some nice lie flat seats. Got to sleep on the plane. Was nice eating all the good food on the plane. Just getting wasted. What were like the major things that I wanted to talk about? Oh,
well, there's one in particular. You went to a very cool factory.
I did. But okay, let me start before that though, and I'll get into why Budget is our sponsor of this episode. We arrive at the rental car place in Milan. In Milano. And
Ragazzi.
Rachel and I had both gotten our international driver's permits, just in case that she needed to drive too.
Wait,
right?
do you need to do that?
I don't know. I really don't know. Italy doesn't seem to give a fuck. But
because when we went to Scotland, I didn't drive, but I feel like none of my friends got an international driving permit. We still, they still drove, but
it's like $20 at AAA, so it's not like a huge deal. Yeah, it's
not
like it takes you take a passport picture and they just like write down your driver's license for you in the book. Like,
gotcha.
It's a piece of paper. It's not something serious.
Gotcha.
We arrive at the rental car place. I had reserved a small automatic car to drive from Milan to Florence. Stop in Modena. When I get there, she's like, "We don't have a small automatic car. We have a very large Citroen with a manual." Rachel's like, "Oh, fuck." And I'm like, I look at her and I'm like, I haven't driven a manual in a decade. And she's like, it's okay. And I was like, if you're okay with this, I'm okay with this. And she was like, it's okay. And I was like, let's fucking do it then. And she's like, yeah. So she just gives me this car. So I start out in the tiny ass Italian streets of Milan with this like crossover SUV. It's like as big as like like an American sedan, right? Like with a hatch.
Okay. Yeah.
Like a big one, like bigger than like it's like a Subaru Crosstrek or something. You know what I mean? Like it's like a decent size.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm starting out with this thing, just fucking cruising this car, not driving a manual in like a decade, and it was nuts. And Rachel's like, holy fuck. She's all like nervous, but in the end, I got everywhere I needed to be, and I didn't hit anything, and I didn't hit anyone, although I almost ran a woman over. But that's because she jumped out in front of like a very aggressive street. She just like crossed, like pretty much a highway. She just crossed the highway like whenever she felt like. So that was interesting.
When we were in Scotland, again, I said I didn't drive. I've never driven a manual. I'm sure that if I wanted to learn, I could, but I don't really. When my friend was driving, because we got to the airport and like all they had at the rental car place, it was all manual because that's all they drive over there. He stalled out a couple times in the parking lot, but basically as soon as he got out of the parking lot, he was fine. Like the whole rest of the trip, he was fine.
I stalled one time in downtown Milan. I stalled once in Florence when the lady jumped out in front of me, like when I went to start after that because I was all flustered.
Yep.
But I think total like 4 times. Once you get on the highway, you're fine. Small streets, people jumping out in front of you, Vespas, shit like that.
Sure.
Throws me off, right? Like this is, you have to like be cognizant that you're still doing this. And when you get like thrown a curveball, like somebody jumping in front of you, you're like, oh shit, you slam on the brakes and then you're like, go, and you're not thinking about it. So yes, if you've done it before, you can do it. You'll do it. It's like riding a bike. Like you might fuck it up a little bit, but like you're gonna be okay. So that was that. But the second thing is, as I was driving, when we drove to Modena, we did like all kinds of fun stuff. We did a tour of the balsamic factory, which was awesome.
What did you say? You dipped your finger in a balsamic barrel or something?
They had this barrel that they actually took this barrel to the World's Fair of what, like 1906 or something. Or 1896.
Okay.
There's been there was like a couple World's Fairs back then. There was like a few every other year. They took this barrel there. How it works is like they just keep like adding balsamic to the top of the balsamic barrel.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like they take some away, add some to the top. Take some away, adds like all balsamic is a blend essentially.
Like a 120-year-old blend.
Like the bottom's 120 years old, but the top might be like 20 years old. Know what I mean? So this barrel is like 200 years old. They have these like plates on the end. The barrel just like weeps, right? Because like it's like this old ass barrel, and so like there was like a bunch of drips on the plate, and somebody was like, does anybody ever eat those? And the lady's like, people do it all the time. And I was like, okay, that's like our cue to go, right? And like I looked at the kid and I was like, we fucking doing this? And he was like, nah, man, like I just put in a cough drop. I was like, fuck you, like, and I just like, obviously I'm gonna try this, and it was awesome because it's like 200-year-old balsamic.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The fuck, I'm not gonna take the drip. Like I didn't touch the barrel. I just like wiped the like goop that fell out of it, and I was like, this is still awesome. So
it seems to me that all of your favorite things in life come out of barrels: balsamic and Jack Daniels.
Exactly, bourbon, balsamic.
Yeah,
pretty much anything that you can barrel, I'm about.
Mm-hmm. That starts with the B barrel.
Exactly.
Bourbon balsamic barrel.
So we went there, and as we left there, I took a stop that Rachel was not a huge fan of for all the fun things that we did when we were there.
Shout out Rachel.
She was not a fan, but we stopped at the Ferrari Museum at Enzo Ferrari's house, at his old house, right? There's 2 museums, right? But they're not really museums. It's just like, if you didn't care, you would be pretty bored. You could probably do this in like 3 minutes.
Well, I feel like every museum, if you don't care, you can do quickly. But if you're into it, or you like want to open your mind and learn, not that I'm not like putting. It sounds like I'm putting Rachel on blast. I'm not.
No.
But if you, even if it's something you don't care about, if you want to be like, I'll poke around. Like, when am I ever going to be back here? You could spend hours anywhere.
You could do it. For me, it would take like 30 minutes, right? And I'm like, I kind of care, but like I wasn't like, I'm going to read like every fucking placard and dumb shit, right? But they have like a museum of all the engines, and they show you like, engines over the years, and like the turbo engines and the all the type of shit that you could see, like up to like the new weird hybrid kind of morphed engine type of things. And they have like a whole bunch of breakdowns of it, and like they're just like open engines like sitting on the table, so it's like really cool to see. And then you go into like the other part, and it's just like the Ferraris over the years, and you see like from the 50s on of like all of these like classic pinnacle ones, right? Like all of the like, this is when this changed and this is when this changed, which was awesome. And I posted pictures on the Facebook page, so facebook.com/toofast2forever. If you want to go see those, they were really cool. I think that's the most of it. There was some other things. You said you saw some pictures you wanted to ask about?
No, I I was trying to avoid your pictures because I wanted to know about them. So I saw pictures of the flight. I saw pictures of the Ferrari Museum. Not generic, but I just don't know how to describe them because I don't know what they were. But it was sort of like it was almost like a movie trailer coming on for a movie that I wanted to see, that I wanted to steer clear of. And I was like, no spoilers, no spoilers.
Like, I mean, we obviously ate, like, a lot of, like, awesome food.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the whole fucking time that we were there. We stayed in some, like, nice hotels because I wasn't paying for hotels, so, like, then we would go ball out and eat at, like, nice food places. I had probably the best sandwich I've ever had in my life.
Ooh.
And there's a place worth to going to Florence for.
Is it a Michelin star place?
No, it's not. It's just this fucking sandwich shop that's, like, in downtown Florence that has, like, this... There's, like, 2 of them on both sides of the same place that's, like, a restaurant. And you walk in, and there's, like, 10 or 12... different sandwiches, sorry. They have this, like, huge piece of focaccia, right? Pizza, like, sheet pan sized of it. And they just cut you off a slice. They slice it in half. It's, like, still steaming. And then they just, like, whatever you want to order, if you want, like, Parma ham or salami or whatever, they just, like, slice it right there. Then they throw it on the sandwich with, like, I got one that was, like, salami, grilled eggplants, spicy grilled eggplants, truffle spread, cheese spread. That was it, and it was so fucking good. And it was like, it's $5. That's the other thing.
Wow.
And it's monstrous. It's like it's wider than if you put your thumbs in together. Like if you make like two, like an L and a J, and you put your thumbs together, it was like bigger than that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and like tall, like square. So it was huge. So there's that.
How'd you find that place?
Oh, we were there and we were posting about it in the Miles group. I was like, posting something, and somebody was like, oh, if you're going to Florence, go to this place. And one of Rachel's friends had told her the exact same thing. Like, dude, she was like, me and my other friend that went there were like talking about the sandwich for like the past 6 years about how good the sandwich was.
Jesus.
And I didn't really believe them. My other friend, who's like a beer friend, who's like chubby, like, you know what I mean? He's like us. Like I believed that he knew what he was talking about. And he's like, yo, you gotta go to the sandwich spot, like I'm telling you. And I was like, okay, that's 2 people, and one of them, like, I really believe. Mm-hmm. And we went. It's fucking right, man.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, so that was about it. I mean, that's pretty much all that we did. I wanted to stick to the car story parts here. I got to see lots of wacky cars. You know, you see, like, lots of, like, fucking Alphas driving around Italy that, like, we don't see any Alfa Romeos here, like, ever, so...
Oh, that's the weird thing about traveling internationally. It's, like, just, not even the fancy cars, but, like, all the cheap cars that, like, it doesn't cost enough. Like, they don't make enough money to ship overseas. Like, you walk around, like, a grocery store parking lot, like, I see, like, 8 logos that I've never seen before in my life.
Yep.
Like, all these, like, Icelandic cars and stuff. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, that was really fun. Cool for me. It is fun driving a manual. Like, this is something I would never want to do daily. But it was enjoyable through Italy, like back-ass roads and shit. Oh, I got to stay. Oh, one of the places I stayed at the old Ferrari workers, like, village.
Okay.
Like, when Ferrari would have, like, you know, engineers come in or whatever, they had this, like, village set up that, like, was, like, really, like, these, like, small, you know, apartments that they would, like, you know, have all, like, the workers stay in. So, like, it was, like, down the street from the factory. They, like, sold that, and now it's just, like, a hotel you can stay in. So I got to stay in one of these. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, it was, like,
awesome.
Ferrari themed and everything.
Yeah, cool. And now you're back to regular old boring life in America.
Boring life in America, yes it is.
Although the hockey playoffs are about to start, so you have some fun there.
I did, yeah, and I went to a hockey game when I came back. I went to the Rangers game the other day.
You sure did.
And I'm getting ready for hockey playoffs. So, I mean, Penguins, as of today, Penguins still haven't made the playoffs because they're dicking around. But if they win one more game of the last 2, they are firmly in the playoffs. And if they don't, as my dad said today, those scrubs don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's like, if they don't win one of these, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. I was like, touche. Like, you got to win one of 2 games. Like, fucking do it. Like, that's all you got to
do it.
Yeah.
That's what Nike's all about. It's about the Penguins' 2018-2019 season. Win one of 2. Just do it. We have a Patreon page here on Too Fast Forever, patreon.com/TooFast2Forever. So fitting. Shout out Cassie Wilson for supporting us over there. If you want to get merch, if you want to support us, if you want to just say hi, check over there. We also, so here's the thing, your mileage may vary. This is a very big disclaimer here.
Yes.
We have now, as the Cage Club Podcast Network, we have a Threadless shop, which is cageclub.threadless.com.
But that proves that Joey's working on the merch stuff.
I am. So the Threadless experience is both very simple and also a pain in the ass. Like, you upload a design.
I agree. Yeah.
And it just applies to everything. And you can sort of toggle things on or off, or you can reposition logos and stuff like that.
Back in Cafe Press days, it would show you, like, this is a cup, this is a shirt, this is a hoodie. Now Threadless is just like, this is the logo. and then there's like 3 million things you can get in a list.
Yes. And so we have 2 Cage Club logos, white and black, and we also have an X's for podcast. They have theirs looks really cool. And then we also put up there the Too Fast, Too Forever logo. So here's where your mileage may vary. The logo is not as big as they recommend. So I think if you want to get some Too Fast, Too Forever merch, like stickers or a water bottle or like notebook or t-shirt, I think the smaller items you buy will be fine. I think if you buy, like, you can go on there and you can buy, like, a duvet cover, or you can buy a shower curtain. I think those are going to be too big. I think it's going to
stretch it. It's going to pixelate it and make it look blurry.
If you want to go on there, if you want to get some weird stuff, and people be like, what is that? Be like, oh, it's my favorite Fast and Furious podcast, the #1 rated Fast and Furious podcast sequentially. What was your series of disclaimers? Like, by 2 guys watching the same movies every 2 weeks, like a very specific.
I don't remember.
But if you want to support this weird little show, and here's a little inside baseball. The cost on there, so you can set a cost above, like, so there's like what every item costs. And then Threadless lets you set a specific percentage above. So everything is just 10% above cost. Like, basically, it's the lowest that you can go that, like, Threadless won't yell at you about, like, are you sure you want to do this? So, like, we're not really making money on this. Like, we're making, like, $1 or $2. But I'm sure Threadless is going to take some of that money. If you want to get stuff, it's basically at cost. Go on there, cageclub.threadless.com. You can find our logo. A cheaper way, in theory, to get t-shirts or stickers is to go onto our Patreon page, patreon.com/TooFastTooForever, and support us over there. Cassie, I promise, stickers coming to you shortly.
He's working on it. He really is.
I'm working on it.
Steps are involved.
We also have an email address here on the show, family@cageclub.me. So, Joe, we have 4 emails today. One is barely an email, but we have 4. So here's the first one.
Okay, good.
I got an email that says, note from Andres El Bihar to your Facebook page, Too Fast, Too Forever.
Oh.
And then it just was his name.
Oh,
and
cool.
I responded to it, and I just said, oh, yeah? No response.
We haven't talked about how funny the messages we get in the Facebook page.
It's very strange. So if you're listening to the podcast, obviously you know that we are not affiliated with the movies or the franchise.
Yeah.
That we are just fans, that we have a podcast, that we're just, basically bullshitting and like talking about the movies, like watching the movies. People on Facebook, including people that we have basically paid for Facebook, like, because we just try to make ourselves look the part. So we've paid a little bit of money to basically attract more fans.
To promote, not to buy, to promote.
To promote. And I think a lot of these people think that we're the movies.
I think so. It's not like we pretend to be the movies.
No.
We're not even close to the movies.
But the one thing I do want to say, though, is, like, confusion aside, everyone is so earnestly joyful about the movies and the whole thing. It's like, it's kind of like, it's not us at all, but like they're just like excited to talk about cars and the movies. And like, if you looked at it from afar, you'd be like, are you pretending to be the movies? Like, no, we're not, but we in a way sort of are a proxy. And it's this nice little thing.
We like have to, we do. So like people just send us messages like, hey, like, love those movies. Mm-hmm. And we're like, yeah, same. And then that's it. Like, that's the whole conversation. These are my favorite movies.
Cool, us too.
Yeah. Yeah, these are the kind of messages we get on Facebook, and they're a lot of fun. And I like responding, and the fun part is that Joey can see the responses.
Yeah.
So he'll just watch the conversation happen, just in real time. And like I just respond like so middle of the road for all of these things, right? Because they're not like real questions or answers.
No, it's just they're basically talking to the void, and you're just like responding, like you're a chat bot essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I respond like a chat bot, and they just like keep going or stop or whatever. It's like it's so awesome.
It's very fascinating.
Oh, my favorite was. I just want to say it. My favorite was somebody was like, "Hey, text me," and I was like, "No, thanks." And then,
did they respond or did they not respond?
No, he just stopped.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, I have a question. And we were like, shoot. And he's like, text me. I was like, no, thanks. Yeah.
But yes, if you want to send us a message, you go on facebook.com/TooFastToo, wherever there, click a message, it goes to our email, or just straight up email family.
I will respond. And if you ask a real question, I'll talk to you. Like, I won't be a chatbot if you actually want to talk. But...
If you're an actual person, we'll respond as an actual person.
Exactly.
All right. Next email, Joe, new listener.
No way. Really?
Yep. We have an email from Wells Lamont.
Well, hello, Wells.
The subject line is bros, ! 2F2F love it. So, already from the beginning.
Family.
I
get it.
Let me start off by saying I love the podcast. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I started late, so I'm going backwards in order, which to me, I admire. He's basically consuming us as though we are Benjamin Button.
Okay.
It's
We're
also
getting younger as it goes.
I love it. I also think it's weird as hell.
You know what's going to be awesome is that you're going to break up with your girlfriend before you had one. He's going to be like, damn, she's gone? Like, wonder how long they were together. It's like 4 episodes later, like, I got a girlfriend. Like, oh, didn't last that long.
She was, as you described, she lasted about 1 lap.
About a lap, yeah, that's what I mean. Mm-hmm. So he's going to go back like, holy shit, I don't know how important this is yet.
Yeah.
But then he's going to be like, oh, whatever.
Not that important. All right.
Not that important.
I can guarantee you there's no one that has watched Fast and Furious movies more than I have, which is a bold claim.
That's a really bold claim. And I bet you on a long enough timeline, we're going to beat you out.
Maybe. We
Just
also have that
Infinity.
GameSpot joker from last episode. Remember that list that we found? He's like, I'm the foremost expert. So I feel like, a lot of people, but let's get to let's go through the email, see what he has to say.
See what he has to say.
You guys have many different angles that I never even thought to care about. Before I go further, here's my order.
Okay, good.
From the bottom up. Number 4, Fast and Furious. Number 4.
Okay.
Number 7, Furious 7.
Okay.
Number 6, Fast and Furious 6, which is wildly low compared to...
Way low.
Yep.
Okay.
Number 5, Fate of the Furious.
Okay.
Number 4, the original, The Fast and the Furious.
This list is wild. This is like a lot of hot takes all in one list.
Although,
I like it.
So the next one's the craziest one, I think, compared to what we've seen. Number 3, Too Fast, Too Furious, which is very high.
Very high, yeah.
But then the top 2 make a lot of sense. Number 2, Tokyo Drift, and number 1, Fast 5.
Okay. How do you love 5 but hate 6, man?
I don't know.
World's longest runway.
I don't know.
We need to talk to you, man.
He says, my order tends to change because it's all so close, but the last 2, which in your, if you remember, is 7 and 4,
yes,
stay the same. So he doesn't like those as much.
Okay. I can see it. I mean, like, if you are so torn by losing Paul Walker,
yeah,
you just don't even want to revisit it.
Which he does talk about, I think.
Okay, go ahead. That was just a guess. I didn't even hear
the weird coincidence is that the day that we are recording this, Wednesday, April 3rd,
yes,
is the day in 2009 that Fast and Furious 4 came out, and the day in 2015 that Furious 7 came out. So the two movies he does not like.
Favorites came out on the same day, and it is today.
Maybe Wells just hates April 3rd.
Maybe.
He says, I could go on forever, but I'm going to say this. When 4 came out, I was disappointed. P-Walks, he calls him P-Walks the entire email, so I'm going to say it like that.
I like it.
P-Walks didn't have his wavy blonde hair anymore. I was thrown off immediately. Still, it's better than not having it be a movie, which is, a Fast and Furious movie, even a bad one, is better than no movie at all.
Yeah, we talked about how he dyed his hair and changed his hair color for no reason, but sure.
Now, I'm not sure if y'all touched on this, but when 2F2F came out, the movie, not our podcast,
yes,
I was blown away by its beautiful awkwardness and cheesy lines.
Same.
So many lines from the first 5 that we use on a daily basis, especially 1 and 2.
Exactly, we do all the time. I don't know, you guys don't see it, but even in talking to each other, nothing but time.
We just recorded last night, resident historian Mike Manzi and I recorded the Cruise Club episode of Top Gun, which if you're listening to this the day it comes out this Friday, April 12th. We had on there Dan the Duke Hayden, who I went to college with, who Mike and I went to college with, and he was talking about how he wants to start using movie quotes in real life more often, and he used the I live my life a quarter mile at a time, and he said he made his friend laugh so hard that he fell on the floor. So it sounds like we got to get Duke on the podcast is what I'm trying to say.
For a long period of my life, when I was like 19 to 22, I pretty much only spoke to women in movie quotes because it just took less effort than trying to, it didn't matter if I talked to them or not. So just be like, yeah.
You jump, I jump, remember?
Yes, shit like that. And
you met me at a very strange time in my life.
1,000%, yeah. It just works every time. They sound beautiful, and they resonate with. It's like you feel like you've heard this before. You're like, damn, that sounded really good. Yeah, I was like this fucking super prolific person, but
it's like in The Beach Bum when Matthew McConaughey, when Moondog is reciting poetry to Lingerie Doggy Dog, and he's like, yo, shit, that's beautiful. Did you write that? He's like, yeah, man, I wrote that. He's like, nah, that's D.H. Lawrence. I plagiarized that shit. But I won my poetry competition.
He goes, but I also wrote it.
Yeah. Man, I love that movie. Okay.
Same.
The thing that pulled me in was the fact that they had P-Walks reunited with his old pal Roman, in parentheses, T. Gibbs, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, blue eyes, blonde hair, Brian O'Connor starts implementing a certain slang to his vocab. I said I forget about it, cuh, and pockets ain't empty, cuz, which is very true. He had a different attitude and step to his walk. Lastly, when Tokyo Drift came out, I hated it. But remember, as number 2.
Yeah.
It had no cast members and was so different. But when the end of 6 happened, we realized that 3 was actually after 6 and meant something to the storyline. I went back and, long story short, fell in love with Tokyo Drift.
It's one of our favorites. It's like it's definitely one of my favorites. So
definitely one of my 8 favorites.
Yeah, it's true.
Bow Wow murders the big screen. Phenomenal.
Agreed. We want Twinkie back tomorrow.
Even though he's doing not great things in real life, but that's neither here nor there.
Just flexing on Instagram.
Well, no, he remember he got arrested for domestic battery.
Oh, when? Fuck, seriously?
We talked about that on this podcast.
Yeah, but then he looked like he got beat up, right? Isn't that what it was?
Oh yeah, he down at the Super Bowl, he attacked a woman.
That's right.
He got arrested.
And he's jacked up, and she's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's what happened.
1 was a normal movie that was very entertaining and perfect for its time. Couldn't have asked for a better start. 2 was an absurd attempt at whatever it is they were trying, but was amazing nonetheless. 3 is 3. You either love it or learn to love it, which I love that. That's great. Either love it or learn to love it. That's how I kind of feel about Fate of the Furious. It's like I'm gonna have to learn to love that movie somehow. Which next episode, gonna have to watch it again.
We're gonna watch it again.
It's so colorful, and I love Japanese culture, which you do too.
Same.
Also very ridiculous in parentheses in a good way. 4 was the first attempt at a grittier action film, and it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And that again is his least favorite one.
It misses the mark a little bit. I agree, but it's grown on me since I've been watching it again.
Justin Lin was just getting started, but oh man, did the end of 4 get me excited? Ooh-wee. 5, IMO is the peak and the best because the team got assembled, and I was heavy into Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 online at the time. Again, we've talked about, you and I have a very strong history of first-person shooters, bonding us, uniting us, introducing us. He says, and the favela was a common level, and they were running through the favela exactly like the game.
Oh, I didn't know that. Did you know that?
No, I never played Call of Duty past...
Same.
4? Maybe Modern Warfare, but way before that.
Okay.
But that would be like, if Fast and Furious 9 takes place in Blood Gulch, you'd be like, oh shit!
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit, they're on Zanzibar? Okay.
Yeah, fuck. He got the sword?
Love it. He says, 8 I've only seen 1.5 times, but I love it, and it rivals 6. It's a toss-up. I'll know for sure after I get the DVD and run it back 5 or 6 times. I love the prison break scene and the weirdness of it. 6 was Jay Lin just upping the ante. How can I go crazy with 5? Thinking face emoji. I'll add a tank and a plane, parentheses T, so planet. He says, fantastic. 7 was cool and was Lin upping the ante yet again, flying cars out of planes and jumping buildings in Dubai. It has great moments, but it really seemed to me that they were in disarray after P walks past. Which I read the trivia about this here, and they sort of had to scramble. It was supposed to come out in July 2014, and then he died, and so they had to do all these reshoots and stuff and change the script, and so it came out 9 months later. The ending and everything, and it's hard for me to watch. His passing was the worst non-friend or family death I've experienced. It hurt me too. R.I.P. walks. Which
same.
Again, great. This won't be the last time you hear from me, I'm sure. I have way more in-depth detail we need to discuss. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to future episodes. I have so many questions for you guys about things I'd love to hear your opinions on, involving scenes from all 8 movies. Okay, I'm out.
Shoot him over. That was a great email. Thank you.
Shout out Wells. Thank you for listening. Thank you for writing in. So I have a couple questions for you. So number 1, if you're listening backwards, when a new episode comes out, are you listening to this and then continuing backwards? Or are you starting, going all the way back, and then going to catch up? I want to know how that's working. And I also want to know if you're learning anything weird or new by listening in reverse order.
Well, I don't know. I think we talk about the movies a little bit differently every time. So I'm sure that every one of them is going to be vastly different either direction you go in. I don't think they have to be in an order. They lead from each other, but they're not. I guess some things maybe the quizzes and stuff will be strange at the end. Everybody drives like the wind blows, and you'll hear that joke 300 times before you realize what's going.
Yes, us talking to the Zimbio quiz without so that's weird. That's building the hype of the Zimbio quiz.
Yeah.
And you won't hear it for a while.
I guess. Who knows?
Next email from superfan Jenny McMullen. Episode 28, subject line.
Okay.
Hi guys, some thoughts about the episode, but not necessarily the movie. I do know about the movie The Rock, but I had no idea what SNCC was, because I was an 80s kid and so too old to know.
That's fair. Because we were talking about, our one friend had a girlfriend who's too young to know what SNCC was. Being too old to know what SNCC is, that's fine. you have your whole own world of media that didn't exist when I was a kid. You know what I mean? So, like, I get it. It's just like when you are with a group of people and then one of them doesn't get one of your references, you're just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was married before Snick even started, but
Shit.
cool to see it was created by Nick Cannon. He's still doing his thing.
That's awesome. I hope that was a joke, because if it was, it's awesome. That's a really good joke.
Next, sounds like a plan, Wes. If there's a party or barbecue at Dom's house in California, I'll be there. There's a little bit of update. No real spoilers, but the last email that we have is from Wes, which
Cool.
he's got a little bit of an update about the house, so we'll get there. He also, I think, responds to Jenny, so we'll get to that next email,
Cool.
so let's hold off there. She says, I'll be there.
Okay.
Might even drive down in one of our classic cars. Speaking of cars, and also I think
Yes.
it'd be super cool if they showed up just like in these like baller cars.
Yeah.
Which also, by the way, if this happens, I mean, not if it's, when this happens,
When this happens.
you have to rent a crazy, like if they rent like a Supra or something or a Skyline, and I have to rent a Charger. Like it's what we
I think
it's what
by
we have
then
to show up in.
I'll have a beautiful old white man Porsche. I think that should be a good goal for
Maybe.
me. To
In
have
the
like
next
my
8
dream,
years.
my dream white man Porsche in 8 years. My house will be paid off by then. I'll be good.
Speaking of cars, I remember really wanting an Eagle Talon and then a Mitsubishi Eclipse. I
Yes.
worked with a guy who had an Eclipse and later had a Jaguar. I asked him if he would have let me take the Eclipse out for a spin, and he says he would have. To this day, I've still never driven one, but don't really want one as much anymore. Also thought it was interesting how you each pronounce Jaguar. Joey said it like the commercials, Jaguar, which I didn't realize until I edited it, and I was like, oh, I sound pretentious.
No, you just hear it in the commercials. You're fine.
Joe said what sounded like Jaguar and Jaguar. I've heard
Yeah,
all three of
Jaguar.
these pronunciations at some time or another. That's all for now. Later, Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, I always say Jaguar because it was always Jaguar to me when I was a kid. This is the evolution of these. Like, when I was a kid, it was Porsche, and then it became Porsche. I don't know. These car companies kind of, I think they tweak their pronunciation. Or, like, the American market doesn't care for a while, and then it becomes aware and tries to fix it. I'm just using the one that is parlance for me.
Yeah.
You know, like what I learned as a kid.
So thank you, Jenny, for writing in. And there's going to be a little bit of back and forth here, but I like that Jenny and Wes are now internet friends through the podcast. We are
like it.
making
Same.
things happen. Last email
one
from
family.
Wes.
all
It's
one
been
family.
a long day without you, my friend.
Oh,
What up, fam? Great last episode. For whatever reason, Fast and Furious 6 is still one that doesn't really stick out to me in the series,
Oh.
even though every time I watch it, I enjoy it. Where it falls in my ranking usually depends on how recently I've seen it, but I do enjoy Owen Shaw and his Bizarro gang. Now it's time for some tears with Furious 7, so get those Kleenex out, boys. Here are my previous episode observations.
okay.
Bad news for the house party. Doesn't look like the Toretto House, 722 East Kensington Road, Los Angeles, California, is available to rent on Airbnb at this time. The good news is that there's still 8 years before the party, so maybe something will change before then.
If one of us hits Powerball, we just go buy the house.
But also, if it's not an Airbnb, that's fine. If we showed up with, like, so, by this point, the Patreon's making like $100K a month. Like, we are just, like, flush with cash, right? And we show up,
Yeah.
we're like, hey, here's $50,000. We
Let's
don't want to
hang out
go
in your
inside.
backyard.
Just
Yeah.
be in your backyard, driveway, take pictures outside. Is it cool for here for 6 hours? Like, who would say no?
Yeah.
That's all we need.
Like, go get some dinner, chill out.
Patreon.com/2fast2forever.
In 8 years, this is going to be a fucking parking lot.
Oh, that's it. You know, Deckard Shaw's going to blow it up in real life, too.
It's going to be an apartment building owned by Little Dom and Little Brian.
Joey, I know exactly which parking lot you're talking about. Remember the price gouging parking lot down in Austin.
Yes.
It's still there. They still gouge on parking, but so does everyone. If we do any South by Southwest stuff, I'm usually working, so I have to meet everyone down there later. I just save myself the trouble and park at least a mile away and walk. Parking is cheaper. Plus, I usually get a nice walk through the Capitol grounds, which, yeah, this is me talking directly to Wes. I found like parking on like 15th-ish, like just south of the Capitol, or like just north of the Capitol. They usually don't charge for street parking like after 7 or 9 or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
You get a nice little walk. It's all lit. It's all nice. It's a little hilly, but it's definitely the best way to go.
Yeah, I would take the walk over $50 for parking, whatever.
I'm not sure if you saw this in the trivia about Fast and Furious 6 originally being conceptualized as 2 movies, but if I remember correct, this is also super cool. But if I remember correctly from the commentary, Justin Lin was going to call the first movie Fast and the second movie Furious, which I can't decide if that idea is more funny or terrible, which I think is great.
Yes.
I think it's great.
If it would have played out like that, I don't know how I would have felt about it either. First time hearing it, I'm trying to digest it. I don't know.
Speaking of names, apologies if this has been discussed before. Originally, they were pushing to call it Furious 6 since the previous movie was Fast 5, but everyone just called it Fast and Furious 6. That name kind of stuck, and it's technically the official title, though IMDb lists Furious 6 as the, quote, original title. Depending on the version you watch, you might see either title in the film's title sequence. I found videos online of both versions. I forget which one my Blu-ray set has. I think it just says Furious 6, I think I maybe saw it in theaters as Furious 6. I don't know. I know exactly what he's talking about. It's a weird...
Yeah, they had 2 title cards.
Middle ground, yeah. Probably Fast and Furious 6, since the set includes Furious 7, but I'm not 100% sure. This might just be another example of their lazy naming conventions, which is certainly true. There's quote-unquote trivia about this movie that says that James Wan, who directed this, said Furious 7 is an allusion to the Seven Samurai, the Akira Kurosawa movie, but I was like, okay, sure, but also there's more than 7 of them.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't really, like, I think that's just like somebody making up a quote. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. That doesn't seem too real to me.
Doesn't seem real. An interesting thing about the Scar talk scene is that it kind of retcons Dom and Letty's relationship. He talks about meeting her when she was 15, and he tries to impress her in a street race. In the first movie, however, Mia tells Brian that Letty lived down the street, was into cars when she was 10, and was always trying to get Dom's attention, but he didn't notice her until she turned 16. Who knows, maybe Dom as a kid was a kind of dick, and literally didn't realize Letty was hanging around for 6 years until she hit puberty, and he suddenly noticed her at a race. I think, possibly, what we were talking about, especially what you and Mike were talking about last episode, if Fast and Furious number 4 serves as kind of a reboot for the series.
Yes.
Retconning how they met is okay. It's all fast. Like, they're all playing fast and loose with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think if 4 is really truly a reboot, it makes sense that they're just sort of, reestablishing the foundation.
But like, if you hear these stories from different people, it's not hard to believe that both stories can be true, right? Like, Mia's telling, like, her version of the story, and then you hear Dom's version of the story. They can both be real.
Yeah. Very true. Apologies for the car pick being so confusing. And this is, again, Wes, do not apologize for this.
Yeah,
but
that's part of the fun of the game. I think that actually makes it more fun, so don't
he says, I was in a rush to get the email out and didn't do as much research as I normally do before sending. This Eagle Automobile Company is actually a different one than Joe was thinking of with the Talon. I didn't realize it before listening, but it seems like there have been a few different car companies named Eagle. That one went out of business in the late 90s. This one is from England, and I wasn't 100% sure about their business model until I did some more reading this morning. This company has been doing Jaguar E-Type restoration builds since the 80s, where they take old E-Types and completely restore and improve upon them. The Speedster is their improved version of an E-Type, so the design is very close because it's based on the E-Type, but it's not a restoration. It's a completely new build from the ground up. It looks like they have a couple other styles, but they're all based on the original Jaguar E-Type design. It's pretty interesting to see how it came about, actually. Then links to an interesting short article he read about it, which I'll put on the Facebook page.
Cool.
Apologies again for the confusion, but trying to mix it up with the cars can sometimes be risky. He says, that's it for this episode, but I do have a car pick for Joe to guess. This one should be much easier. At least it's not a custom model from a company that he's never heard of. Until next time, stay furious.
No, I liked it. Yeah, don't apologize. It's always fun, man. We're gonna have fun with it anyways. Like, if it takes 20 minutes or 3, it's always fun, so.
Because the whole point of the game, really, is that I'm bad at doing it, that it's difficult, and so if you make it more difficult, why not?
Fine.
Exactly. Roll with it.
I don't give a shit.
Cool. Well, if you want to write it in, family@cageclub.me, we'll read your email on air, or if you don't want us to, we don't have to, just let us know, and I can just read it to Joe. And not record it, and it can be real romantic between him and me, and you. So we have to now check our iTunes. If you go to iTunes and if you want to do a nice thing, I haven't checked in a while. If you want to do a nice thing for us, if you want to leave us a review on iTunes, 5-star review, write whatever you want, we'll read it on air. So last time, Joe, we had 13 reviews. Let's see here, 13 ratings. Still have 13. No new reviews.
Okay.
I fucked yo bit. CG was the last.
Yeah, we did that one. Yeah.
Wait. No. Hold on.
What? We have a new written review?
He did a new review for us.
Okay.
He says podcast level : ultimate. He says titles are for family, 5 stars.
Okay.
Podcast level ultimate. The more I listen, the more I want to come on the podcast. It's a lot of fun to listen to, and my favorite thing to do is toke up on some reefer and then slow the podcast down in the podcast app. Y'all talk hella slow and it's hilarious. It's funny as well when I speed it up. take the time to listen to this podcast, and not only will you not be disappointed, you will love the hell out of it. I live in the Bay Area, and we have Fast and Furious parties out here. Holla. Well, shout out, I fucks yo bitch. That is wonderful.
That was awesome. I really want to know what we sound like when you slow our voices down in the podcast app.
I've always been criticized maybe for speaking too fast.
Yeah, I thought we talk really fast.
We do. I do especially. I know that I need to slow down. But to slow us down, just like, crawl. Whatever makes you happy, man. I love that you're listening. I love that you keep reviewing us. This is great. So go on iTunes.
I want to hear us in chipmunk form, too. Like, just
it's great.
Firing off Fast and the Furious.
So there's two different things. So, like, the podcast app I use, Overcast, lets you go from, I think, like 0.5 to 3 times speed. But when I play back in Audacity, it changes the pitch. So like that becomes chipmunks. So it's crazy. You can do it. So love it. So I fucks you, bitch. Thank you. On the streets, there's only one thing. We're running a little bit long here in this opening segment. I'm just going to say something real quick. Okay. They're apparently going to debut a new quote unquote explosive trailer at CinemaCon for Hobbs and Shaw. So if you want a new Hobbs and Shaw trailer, whenever CinemaCon is, it's coming for you.
If I was making trailers for Fast and the Furiouses, I would just re-edit the trailer that came out and just put the explosions in different sequences. And I don't think anybody would really notice that they were different trailers.
CinemaCon is this week as we're recording, so as you're listening to this, it should be out. So go check it out. Do you have any news about the series or no?
No.
So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to Google Dwayne Johnson President for our segment Top of the Rock. Or no, sorry, Rock the Vote, because it's not Top of the Rock yet. That's not until he actually runs. Exactly. Rock the Vote, Dwayne Johnson President. There's a story, why does everyone want Tom Hanks to run for president?
That's for you guys.
That's another one of our podcasts here on the network. But looks like nothing new for The Rock. If I search The Rock president, another great day on the links. Kid Rock teased it up with President Trump. So that's from golf.com last month.
That's a really good news story.
But yeah, so that's about it. Do a real quick new lap observation before we take a break and bring in the Mikestir.
This time when I was watching it, there's a scene where Dom cuts into this tunnel, and in the background is the Staples Center, and I'd never seen that before.
Oh.
Did you notice that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, there's a shot, and they're directly looking at the Staples Center, and it even says Staples Center on it. Dom turns and then drives down into a garage or something.
Okay.
He goes into this underpass type thing, and the Staples Center is right there, and it just focuses on the Staples Center for a second.
So there's one thing. This is not really a new lap observation, but I think it's going to tie into that a little bit. But there's that scene right before the final 40-minute action scene, basically, where they're on that overlook looking at Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And this is trivia. This is not a new lap observation. What I'm sharing here is in lieu of my observation. That's the same overlook that in the first movie, Paul Walker, the Brian O'Connor character, is practicing his driving. It's that same spot. They're there to prepare.
Oh, interesting. That's really cool. I like that. There's a lot of throwbacks in this one. There's a lot of nods to the homages and stuff. Yeah. Cool.
Well, let's take a quick break. Let us bring in the Mikestir, and we'll be back after this word from our sponsor.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is the one episode that's going to be about the 7th movie, Furious 7, and that's a sad one. This episode is brought to you by Budget Rent-A-Car. Budget Rent-A-Car, Inc. is an American car rental company that was founded in 1958 in Los Angeles, California by Morris Merkin. Budget's operations are headquartered in Parsippany, New Jersey.
Shout out.
Budget Rent-A-Car.
Well, thank you, Budget, for sponsoring us and for sponsoring Joe's trip to Italy.
Yes.
That was very kind of you. I'm still waiting on my trip to Italy, but I saw the movie The Trip to Italy, so maybe that counts. Who knows?
That's a movie.
With us today, as he has been for the last 6 episodes, and will be for this and the next episode, and then that's it. Forever. Until Hobbs and Shaw lap the second time we talk about it. We have with us the resident historian Mike Manzi, the Mikestir. Hello, Mike.
Hey guys, it's No Knees Mike, I guess. What is that?
I'm glad that you bring up No
Mike.
Knees. So here's the thing. So last lap, we talked to Austin Wolf Southern a lot about No Knees Denise?
We get a lot of emails about No Knees Denise.
It's such a. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's an enigma.
So here's what I learned this time around. So
Go ahead.
They're talking about it. They're talking about Roman. This is the first time we see Roman. He's like, the first thing he says is like this long speech about how he's grumpy, how this is a terrible idea, a crazy idea, how he doesn't want to do this.
Yes.
And then Brian's like, the only thing you could ever bag or whatever was at prom, and it was No Knees Denise. And he looks at Tej, who did not grow up with Roman, who met Roman in Too Fast, Too Forever.
Yep.
Too Fast, Too Furious. Tej smiles like he knows the phrase. So it's a phrase that we don't know, but in this world, Tej is like,
they know.
Oh shit, No Knees Denise. And then Brian holds up 2 fingers. And I don't know if he's like saying peace. I don't know if he's saying twice. I don't know if he's saying 2. I don't know what he's saying, but I want to live in this moment. I cannot wait, Joe, for like a decade down the line, when we go minute by minute through Furious 7, and we have the No Knees Denise minute. That episode's going to be an hour long. Like, I think all these episodes are going to be shorter. That one, we're going to break down to its most minute parts, because
bare essence.
I'm noticing new things here. I don't know what they mean.
I think every time I think I get it, and then every time I see it again, I don't. Like, I can't. Like, it
the more we talk about
again.
it, the more confused I get by it.
Like, the one thing I picked up big time this go around is that it hurt Roman's feelings for Brian to have mentioned that, as if it was like between bros and he just blew up his spot in front of everybody. And so that kind of insinuates like maybe she wasn't up to their standards or something, or she was considered loose. I don't know. It's like, that's the other thing. Then the more I start thinking about it, the less I can.
But Roman likes loose women. He was on a whole plane full of them in the last movie. So it can't be that she's just like loose, right?
Yeah, there has to be some kind of other reputation, like, because it also kind of felt like him saying you took your cousin to the dance or something like that. It was just like,
how about I have a new one. Maybe it's No Knees Denise, because she was so voluptuous.
She was curvy all the way down?
She was curvy all the way down. Like, you couldn't even tell that she had knees, like kind of like cankles type situation.
But why is that? So I think you're saying 2 different things. I think you're number one saying she's curvy, which I think is generally a positive, but then cankles is like a negative. So you're saying that she's overweight in a bad way?
I was saying that they were making fun of him for taking a very large girl to the prom. So large that she had no knees.
Maybe?
I mean, that's like Occam's razor, right? Like, that's the most, like...
Is
that
it?
Makes well, in a way, because, like, visually it makes sense. Like, the way he's explaining it,
Does it?
I don't know. I'm
adding new
at
theories,
straws.
man.
I'm not doubting you, Mike. I'm doubting that I don't know what the hell this means.
Also, this could just be one of these things like in Orange is the New Black, where it's like, he's not a vegetable, or like whatever the joke was, that like,
it's
there's
just
no beginning to the joke. It's just a it's just the joke within the thing, and you're like, what the fuck are they saying?
Do you know, if I ever meet Tyree, it's like, if I ever meet Hanks, I'm gonna call him Pardew and ask him to juggle. If I ever meet anyone from this actual movie, Part 7, I'm asking about that.
All right.
Yeah,
Fair
I
enough.
definitely want to know. I want to know why this was funny. We should just tweet at Ludacris. That's That's gonna be my tweet this time. Be like,
Boy, we
Ludacris,
podcasting you.
explain No Knees Denise
Yeah.
to me now. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
No, have him like write a song about it.
Southern Hospitality by No Knees Denise.
Well, I want to get that out of the way up front, because there's a lot more to
It'll
talk
come
about.
back. I'm sure it'll come back, because it always comes
Okay.
back.
Yeah, we'll get back there.
So we're here for Furious 7, Lap 3, the Mikestir in tow. Welcome, Mike. You have
Thank you.
entered the sad zone. This is the episode where we
Yeah.
all cry.
Got my Kleenex, man.
Rachel looked up. She didn't even watch the whole movie with us, but she looked up at the end. And she was like,
Yeah.
That's when it really hits. Like, I mean, in previous viewings, I've probably teared up earlier, just when Brian sort of like looks at the camera, maybe. But like at this time, it wasn't until the end. But man, did it happen?
There's a scene in this movie where he calls Mia, right? Because Mia's with Armando, who's a new character. That I had to Google Armando. I was like, is this somebody that we know? Like, why is he not with Rico Ortega or somebody that we know? He's just with Armando, who's like, just his backstory is he knows Dom.
Yeah, it feels like he should have been introduced in like one of those one-shots, like a Marvel one-shot between movies on like a DVD or something.
And so Mia's down there, and Brian calls her, and he says, basically, I love you. She's like, don't do that. It sounds like you're saying goodbye.
yeah.
Well, yeah, because he says, if you don't hear from me in 24 hours, take Jack and move on. And then she's like, I can't. I'm pregnant. It's like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot she's re-pregnant.
She's
That's
re-pregnant.
right.
She's re-pregnant.
That moment gets me because it's the characters in a sense sort of saying, it's sort of in a way Jordana Brewster saying goodbye to Paul Walker. Unrelated to them, at the end of the movie, after Dom jumps into the helicopter with his car, then crashes, and then, Letty's like, I die, you die, I'm not ready to die yet, or you die, I die, I'm not ready to die yet, I'm still wanting to do things here.
Which is the worst acted scene in all of Fast and
No.
Furious universe.
No.
Yes, it is.
I don't know.
Breathe! You breathe! Tell him to breathe!
Lest ye forget that Ronda Rousey is in this very movie.
That's still not as bad, because I expect better of Paul Walker.
Thank God you showed up. These parties bore me to death.
I don't know. I kind of struggle between The Rock and Alana in their opening scene. That's not the best scene.
But oh god, Brian just yelling "breathe" for 20 minutes at Dom pretending to be dead while Letty's also yelling "breathe," and then they're yelling "breathe" at each other. Ugh, that's so painful.
Whatever you say, that moment gets me because that's you can't tell someone that they love you, like that whole speech.
Yeah.
It's just great. I don't know if this is good or not, but so there's that scene that I'm almost crying at, and then they go and Hobbs brings Shaw, he brings Deckard to the CIA detention site, the black site or whatever, and there's this whole thing we basically need to know what happened to Shaw. We need to know that he's been taken care of, and then they go from there to the beach, and it's crying sort of, all right, plot, and then it's crying for real, and it's I don't know, I kind of wish that the two crying things were together, but I understand why they can't, because they want to end
I see.
with the Paul Walker stuff, but they can't show the Deckard stuff. It has to go there, but I kind of wish, if it was all in a row, I would just be sobbing the entire time, but because there's this jokey action plot building setting up the next movie thing in the middle, it's oh.
Yeah, because this is Hobbs and Shaw, part -1, kind of. But no, and those Shaw brothers are tough as shit. He just had an entire parking structure dropped on him and survived without a scratch. But no,
he got parking lotted.
He did.
I know.
His brother just got ejected from the back of a plane. I mean, granted, it was going a couple hundred miles an hour. But no, I totally hear that, Joey. It's tough. They just, for the sake of the film. But man, when they get to the beach, it's I start welling up, and then when that clip show hits, when we get the montage, I'm forget it. I can't even watch the credits.
And we just had our new listener, Wells, write in and just said, that it's when P walks past, it just, he I think basically what I got from that email is that he doesn't really like this movie as much because of that. It's
emotional.
Tough. Yeah. So before we go any further, let us take a quick detour to our questions. So now, Mike, if you had to take a ride with a character in this movie, who would you take a ride with, and which car scene do you want to be in? Two different questions. You know the drill. This is the 7th time we've done it. Which car scene do you want to be a part of, and who do you want to drive you around?
The thing I love about this is I always forget to think about it while I'm watching the movie, and it's right off the top of my head. But I think so. I'm gonna go with who I want to take a ride with first. It's the Prince in Abu Dhabi, whose car they're breaking into. Him and I are gonna go out.
Agreed.
In that car, it's going to be one of the few times he takes it out. And we're going to just, party it up later in his penthouse because they do it like that every day. So, I'm chilling with him for a while.
Which car scene do you want to be a part of?
You know what? I got to say, I want to drive a car out of a plane. And, I think I want to be in that scene like that.
Okay.
Watching, every time I see this movie, I like that. I think that's my favorite part of the movie, actually. It's just, making such a statement at that point, saying, yeah, we're committing, this is impossible, but in our world, this happens. It's a reality and everything. And, this movie really pours it on with the Mr. Nobody sort of shadow organization anyway and stuff. So, I really feel from, that point, the movie's sort of self-aware, having a great time with itself, and really delivering a great sequence. And I want to ride a car out of a plane,
Sounds perfect. Yeah, what's Dom say? He says it's not always about being fast.
And to know that it's all taken care of. All you got to do is sit tight, and the GPS is going to guide you anyway. So just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I think that's the safest way to jump out of a plane with a car you could get, right?
It's the only way to travel.
Or, as the line from The Matrix goes, it's the only way to fly.
There's that whole flying car motif in this movie where first Jack throws one out of a car, and then they jump out of a plane, and then they do the triple building jump with a car. So, tons of cars.
They say that cars don't fly.
Yes. Cars don't fly, yeah.
There's actually, I mentioned the Matrix right there, but there was a couple things. I only wrote down one, I think, that this reminded me of the Matrix, I think, because...
Am I going to get to do my... Are we skipping?
We're gonna get back to
driving?
it. Relax.
Okay.
Nothing but time, Joe. Relax.
Okay.
Because the Matrix is kind of always on my mind, because, Mike, we just talked about last night when we recorded the Top Gun episode.
Yeah.
There's that scene where they get Ramsey. They uncover Ramsey. They're like, oh, she's a woman. The doctor's a woman. Ah!
Yeah.
I was thinking it's sort of like what we were talking about last night, about how when Neo finds Trinity, or Trinity comes up to Neo for the first time, and he's like, shit, I always thought you were a guy. She says most guys do. I think it's just kind of the same thing. Like, of course, this like elite hacker is going to be a dude. A hacker can look like anybody, even though Roman is like, hackers don't look like that.
Exactly. It's they find a hacker that's a girl, and everybody's like, she can't be the hacker.
You know, it's kind of funny. That same joke is in the movie Hackers, kind of, when, and kind of spoilers for Hackers, but someone reveals his true identity, and his black friend goes, yo, I thought you was black. And he's like, so it's sort of the same.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Joe, sorry to have derailed the conversation. What car scene do you want to be a part of, and who do you want to drive you around in this movie?
I obviously want to be in Dom jumping from building to building.
Okay.
Because I think you have to do that once in life, right?
That's what I'm saying. You need the sensation of flying through the air in a car, right, Joe? Like, one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean, like, I dream about it all the time. Like, I have, like, a lot of, like, flying car. I drive off, like, bridges and stuff all the time in dreams.
They should do that Dumbo ride at Walt Disney World. They should just replace Dumbo with cars and call it the Furious 7 ride.
Yeah, and you could, like, drive them up and down.
Exactly.
That'd be really awesome. Does that suffice for both, or does that pick one or the other? What do you guys think? Like,
well, I mean, if you want to be driven by Dom, that's fine. I mean,
I don't want to do the driving in between buildings. Only Dom Toretto can do that driving. So, like, I don't want to be the person driving that.
Okay.
So I think that has to be both for me. Like, the scene and him driving me. Like, it has to be. I have to be Brian in that situation.
Cool. I'm going to be driven around by Mr. Nobody, because I feel like this is kind of a Mike Manzi answer, in that, like, it's just sort of the scenes that we don't see. Because I feel like he's got important things to do, but it feels like he's got to be nowhere fast. He's just, like, driving around, probably in a cool car, like some kind of vintage car, maybe a death-proof car. But he's just kind of driving around, and I just want to be driven around by Mr. Nobody, because I think that'd be really, really kind of cool.
He knows everything, you know what I mean? Like, he'd be like, oh, there goes those assholes again. You're like, where? He's like, right there.
Yeah. I definitely thought the first time I saw this, I was like, don't trust that guy, don't trust that guy. And then when he gives Dom the God's Eye thing, I was like, holy shit, like, he's actually going to be their ally, and like, they're going to...
The most trustworthy.
Yeah, I know, right? They really make sure that you like him after that point. Like, yeah,
he's no ego, I can tell you that much. The scene, I noticed this when I was watching the movie, the scene that I want to be a part of, and it's a very small scene. Brian is fighting Tony Jaa on that bus, and Tony Jaa locks him in the bus, and the bus is dangling over the edge like it's the beginning of Uncharted 2.
Oh, yeah.
Brian has to, like, climb out and then jump off. Letty, like, Tokyo drifts that catches him on her hood. I want to be in the front seat. He's like, who's this guy? And be like, hi, it's me. And that's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you're just like, hey, but like, should I call a different Uber?
That kind of reminds me a little of the scene I wanted to be in, or the car I wanted to be in last movie, where Dom saves Letty after they fly off the tank and crash onto someone's windshield, and then, like, I'm the guy whose car they crashed onto, and I was just like, holy shit.
Love it.
That's perfectly it. I love it, too. That's a good one. Yeah, that's really well played. I like it, sir.
So I have a very, very, very important question for both of you, and I know it's a joke, but I want to pretend like this is deadly serious. When they are using God's Eye for the first time, they rescue Ramsey, they have her booted up, she's doing her thing, she's basically showing how it works, so we understand it as the audience, so the characters understand, like, what they're doing.
Yeah.
Roman says, hey, can I check my email?
Yes.
So,
yes.
I know this is just a joke, like, Roman can't be serious, but I want to know, first of all, he does not seem like the checking email kind of guy.
No.
But what is he checking? What could he possibly need to check at all in this moment? Like, pretend this is real for a second. What is he looking for?
Because I have a real answer and I have a funny answer. My funny answer is he wants to see if No Knees Denise emailed. Doesn't know. But I think, like, what the movie is saying is he is the furthest thing from a techie guy. Like, in case you need to know, like, Tej was their hacker before Ramsey. Like, he is not down, like, with computers. Like, that's what I got from that. But
makes sense.
I think, like, no, he's going to check his bank account. Like, he's going to check if he's got some, like, coupons from Cartier or something, like if Tiffany is having a sale. Like,
Bed Bath & Beyond coupons.
He's a baller, like he's looking for a sale on a boat or a yacht, maybe, if there's...
Maybe.
That's where my mind went.
I'm thinking, when they're, like, talking about God's Eye, that he gets nervous, that he full Kanye'd it. Something, send
like
picture of my dick, and he's like, oh shit, I need to check my email, because, like, he thinks that God's Eye can possibly see his email. And he's like, oh shit, Ramsey's gonna see all the dick pics in my email or something,
Yeah, he should have been clearing his phone too, because God's Eye sees everything.
Just like Assassination Nation, baby.
Yeah.
Because he's just, when he says that line, I'm like, what? Like, I feel
same.
I feel like that's the kind of moment in the script where, like, we need a joke. What's the joke gonna be? Like, Roman's obviously gonna deliver it. It's a weird joke.
Yeah, it feels out of touch, right?
This thing got Instagram. Like, that's what it should have been, right?
Yeah, can I check my Twitter, right? Like, that's more timely, I mean, unless, if he was like, I check my AOL, like, that would have been more telling or something like that. He hasn't been on a computer in 20 years or something, but...
Damn, can this see Snapchats? Like, if it would have been, like, anything
or
like
a Tinder
this...
joke or something. Like, anything
that's
not just email. Like...
It fell flat, I agree.
So, Mike, what's your... I mean, I guess we sort of talked a little bit maybe about, like, some of your favorite stuff, the flying, the jumping out of cars, but aside from that, like, what are some of your favorite moments in Furious 7? What do you like about this movie? I noticed, and not really a spoiler because I want you to explain yourself, but... You gave it a little bit of a lower score on Letterboxd than you have in the past. Yeah. So what's going on in your brain right now? What are you feeling about Furious 7?
Lower score? I want to hear.
Yeah, it's weird. It surprised me too. It dropped a little bit in my rankings this time around. Not to say I still don't love this movie, but I think something about this screening got to me a little bit. I mean, first and foremost, I'll just say I don't think this is the best looking Fast and Furious movie. Like when they get to Abu Dhabi, it brightens up a bit, but most of it kind of just feels kind of gray and not
dark.
Yeah, it's dark. It doesn't have that neon or color pop or like the chroma turned up or anything like the previous installments. And I was a little surprised because James Wan directed this, and like Aquaman is insane. It's like watching a blacklight underwater or something like that. Like, it just looks amazing. Some of it was the sadness of Paul Walker and like that creeping into my head a little bit, and
that's
took me out of it a little, just to get like the rest of sort of the semi-negative stuff out of the way. Is like, I just really felt this time around too, it's not really about Shaw. Like, the movie kind of gets sidetracked by Mr. Nobody, and then they have to find Ramsey, then God's Eye, then they can find Shaw, where it's like everywhere they show up, Shaw is following them, so they don't need to find Shaw. Shaw will find them. He's coming to them. So like this time around, that sort of confused me a bit. It felt a little more like we went on like this big sidetrack mission kind of thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I still am having a lot of fun and I'm really enjoying it and everything, and it's not taking anything away from my fun of the movie, but like, I'm here to sort of nitpick and really stretch for things to sort of complain about. Like, those things in general overtook me this time.
I agree. This is one that I can like watch and kind of zone out on, and like I'll remember things, but the movie, I remember it in pieces. Like, I don't remember it as one story. Like, I remember like Abu Dhabi, plane jumping out of the buildings, and like Ronda Rousey, and then I remember like cars out of a plane, Ramsey being in it, maybe the end, and like The Rock showing up. But like, I don't remember it as one cohesive story because it does feel like 5 or 6 storylines. This could be like a nice mini series.
Well,
right?
I think that's what I think that's just like what the movies are becoming. Like, we talked about that a little bit last time, right? About how that was going to be 2 movies that became one. And here, like, this is, in one way, it's the Deckard Shaw revenge story, but it's also the Mosey Jaconda story where he kidnapped Ramsey. We need to rescue Ramsey. They intersect, but only because they both hate Dom. It just feels like this coincidence. Like, there's the whole speech, where he's like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
It's just like, we need to link these 2 stories because it feels like I think either one of those 2 things would have been enough for a movie, right? Like, either the Mosey Jaconda stuff, like the whole God's Eye thing, or obviously the Deckard Shaw stuff would have been great because that's the whole like thrust of this like 6, 7, 8 kind of, right? I feel like the way that they linked it together is lazy, but it's like we need these 2 things. Like, how are they going to be bonded? Oh, well, they both find out that the other hates Dom. They're trying to get after Dom, so they're going to be united or whatever. And I feel It doesn't bother me because I still love this movie. I still gave it 5 stars because at some point, eventually, all these movies will be 5-star movies in my heart.
Exactly.
And I still love this movie. It makes me cry. I still love these characters. I still think this is one of the upper half, or sort of at least mid-tier Fast and Furious movies. But I do think that like they're so overstuffed with story and the 2 hours and 15, 2 hours and 20-minute long movies. And there's just so much going on. It's hard to, it's hard to tell like a contained story sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
This is the first one that felt like it could have been shorter to me too. I agree.
Because it can be a little hard to process, like as an audience member too. Like there's just a lot of shit going on. But I can understand that's the mode they're in now, and I'm glad that's the gear they're in. They're in 7th gear now. So like this is what they're gonna be from now on. Is sort of feel like 2 movies jammed together, and that's okay. Like a lot of James Bond movies feel like that. The first hour feels like one movie, and the second hour feels like a totally different movie, but that they work together, I feel like a little better in contrast than this is yet. They're just not quite there yet with this series, but they're getting there. And again, like there's a lot of great shit going on, like all the plane jumping stuff, and I love Shaw, and I think that's my thing is like they set him up with that opening sequence to be such a badass. Like he's like the Terminator, like he could take out the whole crew alone and like be his own movie. And I guess that's why when Mr. Nobody shows up and kind of hijacks the movie for a little while, I got a little like antsy, I suppose, and because it just felt like Shaw should be more center stage, like we should follow him hiring the mercenaries and be like, look, like I was on that mountain too, and like I've got money up the ass and shit, and like like, I don't think I've ever attempted a Jason Statham impression before. So.
It was pretty good.
But yeah, I just he was built up to be such a center stage scene stealer, and then he kind of gets a little pushed to the side.
I always forget how little The Rock is in this movie.
Things about both of those that I read in the trivia. So number one, Jason Statham. Anybody want to guess how many lines he has in this movie?
10.
8.
Basically, add those two together, it's 17.
Oh.
Which is still not a ton, because a lot of them are one-liners. Jason Statham has a total of 17 lines in the entire film. Most of them are one-liners and occur in the first half of the movie. There's a couple lines of dialogue when he first meets Hobbs and Dom separately. He does a one-word line when he ambushes the group during the rescue of Ramsey. He just says, interesting. He's looking through the rifle. He does not say a word when he confronts the group in Abu Dhabi and remains silent during his climactic battle with Dom on the parking structure. His most talkative scene of the entire movie is when the team attempts to capture him in the warehouse. Which, I do agree, like, I wish, like, he's the big bad of this movie, because, we talk a lot about how justice for Han, we talk about how he's this guy who killed a family member and then became family.
Yeah, that shot's not in the movie. I totally thought that him crashing into Han, I was like, where is that? It's not in this? I totally forgot.
No, it's at the end of 6.
It's the end of 6.
Yeah.
I mean, there is the archival footage of Han upside down in this movie. So that's why Sun Kang gets billed.
Yeah, and a photo of Gal Gadot.
So there's also another real quick detour. So Gal Gadot, we talked about this on the past episode, Joe. We're like, because they're both credited, Sun Kang and Gal Gadot are credited in the opening sequence, and there's just a picture. I'm like, that's weird. She originally reprised her role as Giselle, and film scenes where Giselle took Letty to the hospital after Letty was injured from her car explosion caused by Phoenix for Fast and Furious, but those scenes were cut. Despite receiving top billing, she's only ever seen via archival footage and a photograph. So they had, I guess, at some point had were expanding we think that Letty dies, but Letty doesn't actually die. That Giselle brings Letty to the hospital.
That's crazy.
They shot that for this, and then they just didn't use it, which is weird.
I love that little turn on the mythology. It's like they keep peeling back the night that Letty died, and all these different angles keep coming to light, and then to find out that she was there too, like on that mission and everything. Yeah, that would have been crazy.
And the other thing that I wanted to say that Joe, you mentioned, you said you don't remember how little The Rock is in here.
Yeah.
The original plan from Universal Pictures, Universal Studio, whatever, was to shoot 6 and 7 back to back, just like they did with the Matrix sequels, just like they're doing with, I think they did with the Lord of the Rings, like they do that with big movies. Like you have all the people, they block off say 18 months or whatever. They're just like, let's do this 2 movies.
I think the Avengers movies did that or something.
So they were going to do that back to back, and The Rock already had obligations to film Hercules and I think one other movie, and he wasn't going to be able to be in it at all if they did it back to back in 7. But then there was production delays or something, so they delayed it a little bit.
Paul Walker.
But even before that, Paul Walker died, because Paul Walker died in the middle of shooting, because they had filmed about half of his scenes when he died.
Okay.
But before that even happened, there were delays that delayed it enough that like The Rock could, I guess, be in part of it. Which I think is why he's not in the movie a ton. That he's in the beginning, the very opening, one of the very opening scenes, and then he's in the last like 40 minutes or whatever. But that middle like hour and a half, he's not in because he was just filming a couple of the movies, which I think is what we've talked about. That was always what we thought, why we thought he wasn't in this.
But I just like always forget that he's like, it starts out and you're like, oh, there's The Rock, and then like he's just not in the whole middle of the movie till the very end.
Yeah, but I do love what we do get from him. That fight with Shaw is, first it's very funny the way they meet, and then their fight's great, and then he saves Alana from the grenade, and like that's just Elena, from the grenade, and they go flying out of the window and stuff. So like he gets taken out in like a heroic way. So I was cool with that. And then I thought it was really interesting when him and Dom have like their little talk in the hospital. He's like, no, whatever you do, like don't go after him. And then Dom's like, all right. And then Hobbs is like, but really speaking, like not as a cop, like go kick their ass. That was great. And then when he just re-enters the movie in such an amazing way by flexing his cast off and crashing an ambulance into a spaceship.
Flexing the cast off is so key. Yeah.
And then picking up that like machine gun and everything, like it's just incredible, like the way he reemerges at the end.
So there's a lot of things that happen in these movies that like should kill our characters, but when he crashes that ambulance into the drone and there's like a massive fiery explosion, I feel like that probably should have killed The Rock, but to use Wes's term, he is an automancer now. He is getting more powerful just by touching cars. The fact that he just walks out, and I love that Letty's just like, of course, like who else would do that? Of course it's Hobbs. Yeah. Still, we've talked about this, I know before, because I made a note of it in a different color, like it was already in my notes. But I love that Ramsey, who has never met Hobbs before, Ramsey says, who's that? Letty just says, that's Hobbs. Doesn't explain who Hobbs is, and that's the end of the scene. Just like,
and Ramsey looks like so reassured, like, oh, good. I was waiting for Hobbs.
Yeah,
to show
exactly.
Up.
It's like, what?
Yeah. Maybe they like talk about him. They're like, damn, dude, if Hobbs is here, we'd be kicking ass.
Well, the way I figured it is, when they when they rescue Ramsey and they're sort of like chilling by that lake house or whatever, I'm not sure where they are exactly. And she's like, she doesn't need any introductions because she can just read everybody. Like maybe she also like downloaded everything about them all off the internet, so she knows the whole. She even knows about.
She probably has Interpol and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, so she knows about like Tego and everything and those guys. And
she doesn't know what he looks like, though.
Well, she's probably seen like a picture of him online, is what I'm saying, and like she's pulled up dossiers from everybody from all the past movies. She even knows who Suki is and stuff, like if she needs to.
Bend over, boy. There's a Steve Aoki song in this movie when they in the beginning, I think at Race Wars, the song that they're racing to is a Steve Aoki song. So the Aoki blood is strong in this movie.
Good to see Hector.
Yeah.
Runs deep. Yeah, I love Hector. I do love
He never
Hector.
could take a punch.
So I have a question for you guys.
Go for it.
And it's very appropriate because the day, as of today when we're recording, Mike just released A Third Time's a Charm about WrestleMania 3.
Part 1.
This weekend is WrestleMania. And the title card at WrestleMania is Ronda Rousey.
Oh.
Yes. So we're super linked up here.
Wow.
Do you think Ronda Rousey is that actually bad as an actress?
In this, yes. I think that she can be good in other things.
Like what?
I think she's better in the Entourage movie as herself.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't think she's great in it, but I think she's actively bad in this movie.
Have you guys ever seen her do any wrestling?
That's primarily how I knew her, even before.
Wait,
Entourage.
wrestling or WWE or
no?
Or
oh,
MMA?
I'm sorry. No, I've just seen her do Ultimate Fighting, so I've not seen any of her WWE stuff. So
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so you've never seen any of her WWE stuff because it's equally as bad as her acting is here.
Well, that stuff isn't really known to be like exceptional acting. You would think it would translate better into this franchise because that's like soap opera acting over there, and this is turned into a soap opera in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But I mean, she's not necessarily playing a character that you can read. Like I have no idea who this bodyguard is or anything, but her line delivery in this is not good. I hate to say it, but we got to do a few more takes of that line or ADR it or something, because like Joey, I mean, I've seen her on Entourage and I think she's fine. I've seen her being interviewed on Real Sports and she's like totally fine.
I've seen her being interviewed in real life and she's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I mean, she kicks a lot of ass. I think that's just maybe where her focus was. Yeah, I don't think she's that great here.
Ronda Rousey's climbing up my list of people people that I just don't like.
Well, so I was never into MMA because I'd never paid for it. And, I guess I started periscoping it sort of. She gave me reason to care about it, though, because, it was like watching her was an event. I'm sure that there were other fighters like, Conor McGregor, that it was a marquee. It was a reason to watch. But, when she was fighting, I knew she was fighting, and I would try to find, or the next day, I would try to avoid, ESPN.com or whatever, and then find on YouTube or some, other streaming site her fights, because it was, she's a breathtaking athlete. I think she's incredible at what she does, and I don't fault her for trying to be a crossover star, but, it's not great here. However, I will say, her fight with Michelle Rodriguez kicks ass. It's great. Yeah. It's a
fight
great fight. And, there's something I noticed here for the first time I've never noticed before. That one point, Letty throws her. She, sort of tumbles, it falls backwards in a way. As she's falling backwards, pushes up on the ground with her hands, into, a back handspring. I was like, oh, yeah. Holy shit. I was like, that's incredible. There's stuff that she does in this that is just
she's athletic,
great.
For sure.
We've talked about before, I think, Joe, just don't say anything. Pretend that you don't speak or whatever. Or another take or ADR or whatever. Because the way that she says it, we were trying to make sense of it last time. Is it supposed to be a joke? These parties bore me to death? Does that mean, I'm going to kill you? I don't know what it means.
I almost half expect her lines to be subtitled, because we're in Abu Dhabi and, she doesn't know if Letty's American or what language. So, she would just... And she's a bodyguard, right? So she should be fluent maybe in other languages and stuff. So... It would have been cool if she said something in another language, maybe to mask.
Well, she does.
Oh, when did I miss that?
So when
I don't remember that.
When Michelle Rodriguez is there and she's like, "Would you believe if I told you that I knocked him out with my charm?" And she's like, "You're not that charming, bitch." She's got her two or three minions or whatever fighting Letty, and Letty knocks them out. As they're fighting, she reports back to her boss or whatever. She says something in Arabic or whatever. It's subtitled. Cool. It's on screen.
Oh, okay. I totally missed that part.
It's once. It's not the whole scene, but it's once. It does happen.
I also love how Letty gets to fight two MMA fighters back to back in two movies and kind of kick their ass. She is awesome. And kudos to Michelle Rodriguez, because really I forget in general just how physical it's not just acting, it's very physical, and making a movie like this or the Avengers or whatever.
Train for something like this.
Yeah, you got to train, and it's physical every day, and you really need that stamina, and it just feels natural to her. Seeing someone like Michelle Rodriguez move like that makes sense, and I know she did Girl Fight way back in the beginning of her career, and so she has sort of a history of training and everything, so it really shines through. She really holds her own.
She seems way more ripped in this movie than she did earlier on too. Just throughout the movie,
Well, I think we talked last episode or 2 episodes ago about how Vin Diesel got bigger. I think it's the kind of thing where, if you're on a sitcom for 7 or 8 years, everyone just gets more attractive. The Big Bang Theory starts out as it's a show about nerds, and now they're all
hypersexual nerds.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think, even if you start as muscular and streetwise and, good looking or whatever, 7 movies in, you're going to be better looking. You're going to be in better shape. You're going to be...
True.
It's, it's Hollywood.
That's something I noticed definitely during the montage at the end, where I was like, "Whoa, Brian used to have these flowing blonde locks." Yep. And I used to think Vin Diesel was huge, but look at him now. And then and then it's oh, we've introduced The Rock since then. And in the next movie, he's even bigger than he was in 5. It's crazy just how they're morphing and everything. But then they remind you, that's what's really smart is in the last movie, we also got sort of the same montage, but it was in the opening credits, and it was look at where they came from, and here's where they are now, and the last shot of the opening credits was them all walking towards the screen together, in a big hero shot.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy style. And in this, they do it at the end, but it's a really clever note for them to fall back on, is to look, there's a big history here. They've changed.
Yeah, throwbacks.
Yeah.
I like it.
This might be the most interesting, not interesting in the, wow, I can't believe that happened, but interesting in this is somebody who wrote this trivia who is like us.
Okay.
All these movies have played a little fast and loose with the history, how people know each other, what the timeline is. It says, but Furious 7 provided clarity as to when most of the films take place. Letty's tombstone, which we see in this movie that Dom wants to smash with a sledgehammer, shows the year for supposed quote-unquote death as 2009, the year Fast and Furious released.
Ah.
After Letty's funeral in 4, Mia says it's been 5 years since Brian first met her, Dom, and Letty. which sets the first film in 2004, but it came out really in 2001. So there's a little bit, which I think we talked about.
Cool. So that movie's in the future too.
Mia discovers she's pregnant early on in Fast 5, the lone film in the franchise to start off at the exact point where the previous film ended. So that's probably, it says, around 2010. Because if 4 was 2009, this is probably mostly 2010.
Makes sense.
Mia gives birth to the opening sequence of Fast and Furious 6, but the remainder takes place when Jack's about a year old, so that's likely 2012, this says. So it's just rounding up to 2012. In this movie, in Furious 7, Jack's now in preschool. He's about 3 years old, which places it around 2014, which I was saying to Joe, I think before, Mike, you came on, it was originally supposed to take place in July, or supposed to release July 2014, but then because Paul Walker passed, they had to do all these reshoots and stuff, and it got delayed until April 3rd, today, as we're recording it, 2015. So this movie basically had retconned everything to take place sort of in modern day. So this also means that Tokyo Drift is set circa 2013-2014, since Han's death takes place immediately before Deckard calls Dom.
Yes.
It kind of condenses things a little bit. Like, instead of going all the way back to 01, it goes to 03. Instead of Tokyo Drift happening in 06, it's more like 2013, just with, like, I guess, dated phones. Without outright saying, this is when things happen now, you can kind of piece together the timeline of the family.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But have we found out when Dom's son was conceived? Do we know about that timeline yet in anything?
No, because we see
Baby
Elena
Mama's in this movie
early, and she's probably pregnant, but she's not showing.
She gets flown out of a window.
Doesn't have a miscarriage.
Yeah, but we can't imagine that Dom hooked up with her after this, right? Like,
no,
like
back
that's
with
the
Letty.
thing.
Yeah, exactly. And he's loyal to Letty, so.
Well, what if they like froze some sperm and eggs for the future, and that was kind of their deal? Then Dom was like, if anything happens to me, you got my sperm.
What if Dom is actually just hallucinating? Letty's actually dead, but he's so distraught that he's just imagining Elena as Letty, and he's just like coming into and out of reality.
Like, don't get me wrong, I want to get behind imaginary characters in the mind of other characters more than anyone, but this is one I just don't know, because I was the one, I think, on the Fast 3 episode that was like, what if Han was just
not real,
someone's figment of it? Yeah, and it just it couldn't work, especially in now. Damn, I wish it could.
Good, Joey, what was yours?
No, I was going to try to make sense of Mike's, but I don't know what to think now. I just, I think she has to be pregnant when this movie starts.
I agree.
Unless that's where Dom's going at the end of the movie. No, just kidding.
So one of the first things we see, which we will track next lap if we remember, is Deckard with Owen. He's holding the necklace in the hospital. He takes it from him. That's a pivotal moment.
Yeah, but then also Sean has it and gives it to Dom. And
True.
When did Han get it to give it to Sean to give it to Dom?
After Deckard leaves the hospital, he goes to Tokyo to kill Han, and he throws it in the car wreckage, and that's...
So how did Owen get it?
That's what I don't know. He takes it from Owen.
Oh, didn't Owen take it back, like, at the end of part 6 or something?
Letty is in Owen's crew, right? So I guess he just gets it from Letty, because Letty had it in her car in 4 when she quote-unquote died, right? And so I think the necklace is floating around 6 a little bit, so maybe just Owen winds up with it. But, it's weird that Owen's holding it on him when they're in the plane and he gets knocked out.
And doesn't Dom have it on in the plane?
No, I think we talked about it. I think that's another cross necklace. Maybe.
I'm about to trump all of this and try and blow your minds here. We find out that necklace has a tracking device on it in the next movie. Spoiler, sorry.
Yeah.
Couldn't they have tracked that necklace at any time and
but I mean, in the next movie we see Dom installing the tracking device.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that part.
You'll get it next. I just
want to imagine
next
it was
episode.
always
You'll get it.
Never mind then. I didn't blow your mind.
I mean, I guess conceivably he's not installing it at the beginning of 8. That it happened earlier, but I think there's a scene where he's very
we need
clearly...
a timestamp on that sequence.
Yeah.
What year and date was it that Dom installed the tracking device? Was it when they got married on the wedding night, or?
Yeah. We need to see the grave of that one.
Show me the receipts. So in the beginning of the movie, we talked about the scene where Deckard fights Hobbs, and he throws a grenade, and Hobbs and Elena fall out, and Hobbs cushions her landing. When we first see Hobbs, he's dripping sweat because he's Hobbs. He's always dripping sweat. He's just stamping. Is he sweaty from stamping?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's just sweating from existing. Like, that's what I get from it.
He burns calories so fast.
Love it.
Just dripping sweat from stamping.
Because, I mean, that was like, after when 5 came out, I think the first thing I said when I left the theater was like, was The Rock just like glistening the whole movie? Like, did they just spray him down the whole time? And I think they just tried to keep that up the whole series now. It's just, that's part of his thing. It's like, he's that intense.
We talked about it last night. You compared it to this series. We just watched Top Gun, and everyone's sweating that entire movie too. Like, the line of cinema of just sweaty, hunky dudes, it goes back a ways.
Yeah.
Showing a man being glistening in sweat is like showing cleavage. Like, that's what gets you going, right? Like, he has to just be drenched in sweat.
I think it's different thing. It's different strokes for different folks. I can definitely see that being...
It's a mild sexualization.
Sure.
For any person, whatever your gender, I think just like when you're wet, the body image and shape and the light, the way it hits it just feels more attractive, I feel. I don't know, but
Mike was even getting tongue-tied just talking
I know.
about
he wants to
he was
fuck
getting
the Rock.
flustered.
I've got the vapors. Race Wars.
Race Wars is great.
Still kind of an unfortunate title to name your thing, but like, yeah.
Glad they haven't changed it. I'm glad we just stuck with Race Wars.
I'm also glad it's still
later.
going after this sort of the incident after the Race Wars that we witnessed from the first movie, like...
Do you think that Hector is running it? Because they invented it, right?
I do.
And so Dom and Letty are obviously not there a lot. They just go every once in a while or whatever, but like, is Hector king shit?
Yes.
Yeah, like I think last time we saw him, he was trying to go more legit. He was not racing, he was organizing, right? He was like more of that kind of guy.
He was in like the Nitro, the AM circuit or whatever.
Right, and now I bet this is just one thing he does. He's probably doing lots of stuff and throwing lots of events and everything like that. So I wish we had more of Hector in the whole series.
Same.
Yeah.
One thing I talked about, I think it was lap 1, Joe, of Fate of the Furious, the next movie we're going to talk about. When Dom does the Cuban Mile at the beginning of the movie, right? And there's that crowd scene where he's like holding that little girl, and there's like people just celebrating his victory. And I was like, if you watch the crowd, it's crazy because they're all like, as a whole, in mass, they look excited, right? But if you watch any one person, just like, this is weird. Letty wins the race, right? And then Letty is like freaking out. She's like overwhelmed. She punches Hector, and she races off. And Dom's like, you could never take a punch. The crowd is silent and not moving, like just behind him, but they're not like shocked at what happened. They're just like standing there. I was like, this is such a weird...
Yeah, like in the first movie, we get like a lot of like when Hector, like when they're like when Brian and Dom race at the beginning, they're like, oh, or like, ooh, like disses and stuff like that. Like after the like, you could never take a punch, everybody should have been like, oh,
like just laughing at Hector or whatever. You know what I mean? Like because like Hector's maybe in charge here, but it's also like Dom is really in charge, and like you're gonna laugh at Dom's jokes even if they're not good jokes because he's the boss, right? Like the boss comes around, makes a joke, you laugh at it. But they're all just like standing there, not reacting to anything. I was like, that's weird.
Yeah, that's really strange.
That's some of my favorite stuff to watch when I've seen a movie like a bunch of times and I'm watching it again. Is just to zero in like on the background actors and stuff.
Oh, for sure.
It's an insane phenomenon. Like you said, Joey, like if you're not paying attention to it, it's seamless. Like, it works. But you just focus on any one person and it can really throw you off sometimes.
Well, not to bring up Top Gun again, but one of the trivia things that I read last night that I did not mention on the podcast, this is a little bit of a backdoor Cruise Club exclusive here.
Exclusive.
There is some podcast, it's not the worst idea on the internet, but it's basically that kind of thing where somebody watches the movie every week for a year, right? They watch it 52 times a year. In doing that, they counted the number of times Tom Cruise blinks and the number of times the word "the" is said. And so it's, I guess, at some point, Joe, we're going to get to a thing where, like, luckily, we're doing these, like, 3 times a year as opposed to 50 times a year. But, like, we're going to get to a point in a couple of years where we're like, okay, like, how are we going to get through, like, even movies that we love?
Yeah.
It's like, what's going to be exciting? And I think the way that, like, having different themed laps and different kind of guests and stuff is going to help that.
It's going to be like, how many times do they say fast?
Yeah. It's going to be basically that, the Bloomberg thing, but like 211, like on Nas. The Bloomberg thing on Nas.
Yeah, it's going to have to get real wacky.
What about lap 15 or lap 30,
I'm worried about like lap 7, dude. Like it's closer than that.
Yeah, no, I think you guys are really going to be good, to be honest. Like I think I'm going to at least ride along with you guys like on my own for a good 7 or 8 laps. Like I think you got it in you to go a while, really. Like I think you're stronger than you're giving yourselves credit. No, like I think 15, 20.
Well, so we've talked about after 5. So this is the ride along lap 4 we have a name of that we have not announced yet. We have an idea for lap 4, which can be different guests. Then lap 5 is going to be driving school, or just driving school, I think, right? That's what we called it?
I forgot.
With Kara, who's never seen any of the movies. But then after 5, we're going to do the minute by minute, like basically the Fast and Furious minute of the first movie. So that's going to take a year or so.
A long time. Okay.
Because we're going to do basically 5 episodes every 2 weeks. And so that'll take a while. That'll energize us, not for 1, because we're going to be done with 1 forever, maybe, but 2 through however many are out by that point. We're going to want to see a lot because we haven't seen it really in a year. You know what I mean? So
what happens when what if you're like in the middle of a lap, you're in like part 4, and then part 11 comes out? Like
bonus episode.
Ahead? Okay, just checking.
Yeah. Of course. Got to.
Because it's going to happen.
Of course. Is there anything else, Mike? Is there anything else you want to talk about Furious 7? I'm looking through my notes because I took a lot of notes here.
So we got to spend just a little more time on Kurt Russell, one of the coolest fucking guys ever to walk the planet Earth. Yep. Like, not only did he play Elvis, but like he was in an Elvis movie or something when he was a little kid, or like met Elvis. Like, the guy is just so damn good at acting and so charming. And I loved that he was Mr. Nobody, even if I was sort of a little thrown by the entrance and appearance of a Mr. Nobody in the movie. But I love how him and Dom have their beer war.
The beer war is cute. I agree.
Yeah,
it grew on me.
I feel like Dom is constantly trying to get people to talk about Corona with him. Like, you know, like you gotta have one beer, you gotta have a Corona. Like, anyone want a Corona? Like, we're all drinking Coronas. And then Mr. Nobody is actually piquing his interest. He's like, let's talk about beer for a while. What do you like in a beer? Here's what I'm a beer man. Dom's a beer guy. We can connect on that level. I thought that was pretty fun. And of course, his body armor is just insane. Like,
the dragon scales.
Well, yeah, because I was thinking Aquaman, because James Wan again, like it looked like fish scales and stuff to me. So I was like, ooh, that's a.
But I think that's like the new waviest new age body armor. Like,
that's actual stuff.
Yeah, I remember when this came out, and it was like the new age body armor because it flexes really well. It exists in real life.
What I love about that scene where Dom brings Mr. Nobody to the car, they drive away, and I was like, oh man, like Brian's really driving. I was like, wait, but like of course Brian's driving out of there well because he's a racer. But I was like, oh, it's so like they're get out of there and hurry. I love, and I think it's one of those things that we talked about a couple episodes ago, Joe, where like these movies are filled with corny lines that I don't mind because I love the characters. But there's that line in that scene that is so corny that I think if it wasn't Kurt Russell delivering it, I would hate it. But when he's just like, you gotta try the Belgian ale, man. Like, he just like, he delivers it. I'm like, that's so Kurt Russell. Like, it could be so poorly done by so many different actors. And the way that he delivers it in that scene is just like, you really gotta try it, man. Like, he's just like basically not bleeding out. He'll be fine, but he's basically bleeding out. Like, the one last thing he's just gotta say before he dies is you really gotta try the Belgian ale.
Well, that's the thing about Mr. Nobody is like he's a blank slate, right? Like, he could be super boring, and because most of his dialogue is like exposition, he's like, this is the goober, they've got it, we need it, you want it, and it's like blah blah blah, right? But it's Kurt Russell saying it, so he's got this swagger and this attitude, and he's bringing so much of just like his film like what you know him. It's like they cast him for a reason. They cast him because he's Kurt Russell. So it's just great that he can sort of imprint whatever he wants onto this role and make it cool.
He's Kurt Russell, and he steals the spotlight, but he doesn't outshine anyone.
He knows it's not his movie.
Yes, yeah, he's really good at playing the part that he's given. Like, he's not like doing the like coming in being the Rock, like larger than life or anything like that. He's like, I'm just gonna be the coolest Kurt Russell I can be, and that's what it works, and it's perfect.
He's almost the Rock plug in a way, right? Like, when the Rock leaves the movie, he comes in, and then when he's like, all right, I'm out of the movie, and then the Rock comes like back into the movie. It's like, yeah, we've got space here for everyone.
So he was not the first choice for this movie. So the role was always envisioned to be a small part in this and then a bigger part in Fate, right? Which is what it is.
Okay.
One of these names is not like the others, and I don't know that this is true. The first one makes sense, that Denzel turned down a role that
turned it down.
Universal was in search for a big big star to play a minor role in this film and a larger role in the next film. So they went to Denzel.
Yeah, if you tell Denzel, like, next time we're going to back up the money truck, but this time, like, we need your help.
But I still think, if like, these are like, this was the first movie in the franchise to make $1 billion. It was, at this time, the fastest movie to make $1 billion. It broke Avatar's record. As we're recording this, yesterday or 2 days ago, the Endgame tickets went on sale. Endgame was going to make $1 billion its opening weekend. Like, it's going to shatter every record.
Captain Marvel already made $1 billion.
Captain Marvel already made $1 billion. So, like, that, it's the game has changed. But when this movie came out, it was the fastest to $1 billion. It broke Avatar, all this different stuff. I understand that you maybe don't want to play second fiddle or eighth fiddle or whatever, but, like, I think you have to kind of trust they got you. You know what I mean? So maybe there's more to it or whatever. But... yeah. So Denzel turned it down. They were looking for a big star to be in this role. The name that doesn't make any sense is Taylor Lautner, who you might know as Jacob from Twilight, the werewolf, which is a terrible decision. I could see him as Little Nobody.
Yeah.
I can't see him as Mr. Nobody.
No. I don't see him jiving with this crew. He's too young.
Mr. Nobody needs to be older. Yep, that's what I was thinking too.
But the other name, which I think also would have been fucking cool, Halle Berry turned down the role.
Oh,
I could see her as Miss Nobody.
Yeah, that would have been great. I love her.
She would have killed it.
She got a little role in Kingsman 2, and she was really cool. It looks like she might be in like another one down the line. But like, I remember when she played Jinx in one of the James Bonds. Like, the whole idea was for her to get like her own action franchise, and like that could have been a great nod, sort of back to her days as Jinx or something. But damn, now I just want her to be in this franchise as someone else now. Just get her in here.
A couple of weeks ago, our friend Brian Late Night Rodriguez, who was on last lap, is on this lap. He's going to be on every lap. He's going to be on one episode per lap because I want him to basically do what Mike did, but just do it over 10 or 11 laps. But he messaged me. He's like, which of these things would you want the most? And he was just like, a movie where like Tom Hanks and Tom Cruise are together, or a movie where like basically all the podcast stuff or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, or Nicolas Cage in a Fast and Furious movie. It was like, how could it ever be anything other than that? Like, how could it not be my favorite actor in my favorite movies? Like, how? Like, Brian, it's not a
Gone
choice.
in 60 Seconds. Like, just he comes in Eleanor.
Oh,
like that's exactly what I want.
So there is. So hold on. So there is trivia about that too.
There's trivia about that?
Not about that, but related. Very, very similar. So there was a movie in 1988 that Kurt Russell was in called Tequila Sunrise. Mike, have you seen this? Because I have not.
Yes.
Kurt Russell borrowed his look and hairstyle that he also borrowed from Pat Riley in that movie, the very slick back hair of the Miami Heat that he used for that movie, for this film. It's rumored, again, according to IMDb, that his character in this movie may be his character from that movie when he probably went from being a Los Angeles County sheriff to a shady government agent. And I just love whether or not that's true.
Oh, they like Honned him. They Honned him into it, right? Like he was a character from another movie that he was in, and he just like implanted
No, but his character was a cop and then became not a cop, right? Isn't that what you said, or became a criminal?
No. He was a sheriff and he became a government agent. But I think what Mike's saying is that you took him from Better Luck Tomorrow and you brought him into this universe.
Yeah.
Is Tequila Sunrise a movie worth watching, Mike?
It's been years and years, but I'm going to rewatch it now that I found out this Mr. Nobody tidbit. Yeah.
Cool. And the other trivia that I want to mention right now as we're talking about all this different stuff, we talked about it last episode. We were talking about who was originally offered for Owen Shaw, and we said that Jason Statham was offered for Owen, couldn't do it, took Deckard instead. That apparently Vin Diesel and Jason Statham had always wanted to work together.
Oh, cool.
They just never got a chance to, and so when he couldn't do it because he was filming 2 other movies, I think, at the time, Vin Diesel was like, no, don't worry about it, I got you. And he basically, as a producer, because he's a producer on these 2, penciled him in for the Deckard role. So I just like that, that when you're as powerful enough as Vin Diesel is, and you like basically help make these movies, you can be like, I want to work with these guys, and like, we're going to get Jason Statham in here, which is a great decision.
At this point, Vin Diesel's going to be able to do that for the rest of the franchise.
You know what's crazy? What ended up happening is that Vin Diesel ended up having sort of a falling out with The Rock, and now The Rock and Jason Statham are best friends making a spin-off together, and Vin Diesel is back in the Fast franchise without his buddy, I guess. Like, it's just, it's weird how that all worked out. I didn't know that they were friends like that. That's pretty cool. Like, yeah, I'm a little surprised that Jason Statham wasn't in like a Riddick movie or something, because he would have been pretty well placed in one of those.
I haven't seen the Transporter movies. I've only seen the third XXX, but I feel like they're very similar franchises. Like, it just feels like they kind of make the same kind of movies. They're
and
the same
Crank,
kind
right?
of
like
star.
just the sort of intensity. Yeah. Well, I forgot Jason Statham's like, he's also the new Mechanic. He's got 2 of those movies. Like, he's got a lot of franchise in him.
Some other trivia about this. So in the hospital at the end, right before The Rock flexes out of his cast, before Hobbs flexes out of his cast, Hobbs is watching a college football game, and it's actually footage of him as number 94 sacking a quarterback.
No
which
shit.
is pretty cool.
Oh,
I
that's
knew that.
awesome.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, he's watching like him in the University of
That's an
Miami.
Easter egg. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a lot better than if he was watching, like SummerSlam or WrestleMania for that matter.
Exactly. Yeah. It's real quick. It's really, really quick. It's sacked and then goes to a commercial or like goes. To
goes
He's
to-
also
the
watching
breaking
the
news.
Hulk at one moment, and they refer to him as the Samoan Hulk in the last movie.
This movie made more money in its opening weekend worldwide than the first movie made. Almost doubled it up. This movie in its opening weekend made $384 million. The first one worldwide made $207 million, which again, rousing success for the first movie, but just how
Ronda
big these have
Rousey
gone.
success.
Exactly. Vin Diesel said Furious 7 was for Paul. The Fate of the Furious is from Paul, which I don't understand what that means, but I like it.
What?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
It doesn't need to. It's like a Yogi Berra-ism. It doesn't need to really make sense. It sounds good enough.
Yeah. The reason that Justin Lin did not do this is because, like I was saying earlier, that they wanted to do these back to back, which would have meant that he had to start doing this movie pre-production when he was still doing post-production on 6. And Justin Lin, I think this is actually pretty cool, was like, I don't think that the movie is going to be as good as it can be if I have to do both at the same time, so I don't want to do it. And so he opted out, and they got James Wan, and they got F. Gary Gray for the next one. Then he's back. Justin Lin is back for 9 and 10. But I think that's kind of a cool, like, not that he didn't want to do it, but it was like, I kind of have enough respect for this franchise that I want to make sure that these movies are as good as they can be. So get somebody else. This is the first Fast and Furious film to have an Oscar-nominated actor, Djimon Hounsou, who plays Mosey Jaconda, who was nominated twice for In America and Blood Diamond.
Who I think now holds a record for playing 2 separate characters in the DC universe.
Oh.
He's in Aquaman and he's in Shazam, so that's pretty cool.
All right.
Interesting.
This was the movie of the year at the 2015 People's Choice Awards.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
The Toyota Supra that Brian drives at the end actually belonged to Paul Walker.
Oh.
And the last trivia, my last note in my thing that I want to talk about is the Fixer, who I think is the one in Abu Dhabi who Ramsey sends God's Eye to, gets them into the party. Jason Mantzoukas auditioned for that role and did not get it. But
oh my god!
Yeah, I could see that. Like he totally could have. Been, and they love this franchise over there on the. How did this get made? Like
I would
one
love
of the
to have seen Jason Mantzoukas do this.
Yeah,
I mean,
I still haven't seen
happy.
the trailer as of now, but I know he's in John Wick 3, so
as the TikTok man,
that's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
What's up with the extended cut? I don't know if I've ever watched.
It's only 2 minutes. It's not a huge difference.
Okay, so we don't see like they didn't cut out anything significant. All right, because I don't know.
I think it's minor stuff. Like the Fate of the Furious is, I think, like a 10 or 12 minute difference. This is a 2-minute difference. I think Fast and Furious 6 is like a 30-second or 10-second or something difference.
I just have 3 quick little notes here. Hobbs's daughter is awesome. She's great.
Yes.
Like it would be awesome if this franchise lasts another like 15, 20 years so that she can get behind the wheel in about 8 of those years
Brian
or something.
and Dom's kids. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be hilarious if like Dom is her driving instructor. Okay, so like God's Eye, we've sort of been tracking technology throughout the franchise, and it's now sort of like peaked with God's Eye. I love just thinking about we're going to find out next time like that there's sort of been like a lot going on behind the scenes of the last 3 movies, and we sort of found out in the last movie that there were things going on behind the scenes in part 3 that we weren't privy to. So I just love this whole idea of like going back into previous movies and
peeling
saying,
the
like,
layers.
Yeah, like this was also happening but from a different angle. The hot potato / parking garage fight, it never really pumped me up before. Like I always thought it was kind of the weaker
one
of the climax of this movie, how they're playing hot potato with Ramsey and she's going from car to car. Okay. There's the parking lot garage sort of fight, and then like destruction.
Sinkholes him.
I don't know. It always felt sort of lackluster to me before, but
it's the least emotionally stressful for me.
I can see that.
Coming off the jumping into a plane, jumping out of a plane in this one. Like, that should be the climax, right? Like, the jumping out of a plane. Where when you get, like, a normal street fight and a hot potato with cars...
Well, Joe, you know the thing about a street fight? The street always wins. Stomp the ground. Ground falls apart.
Yeah.
Sinkhole. Got sinkhole.
Samuel Shaw survives. But, no, like, what I was actually just going to say about it to finish it up was, like, this time I was actually, like, more into it. I was surprised. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I kind of came around to it a lot more this time. I was like, I got it. Like, they really showed us the spectacle and now we're just going to sort of, this is a whole different idea here. This isn't really about the effects and all that and the coolness. It's more about like building tension, and it's a race and a chase sort of at the same time, and they're using their home turf, and I don't know, I just like Brian climbing up the tower and everything. There's a whole lot more going on than I used to give it credit for.
Yeah, I see it.
I love that scene. I mean, I understand that. I think I agree with you, Joe, that jumping out of a plane maybe should be the climax, maybe should come later. But I don't mind that that's like a craziness that's halfway through. Like, I think knowing where this goes...
If they keep ratcheting up, I do feel like this is like a step down, right?
Yeah, I get it. But I also think it's two different things that have to happen. Like, it's the two different storylines. It's that Dom has to take care of Deckard, and they also have to take out God, or they have to use Godzilla to take out Mosey Jakan. You know what I mean? Like, it's like...
Yes.
It has to be big enough or, like, widespread enough. There has to be a reason for them to both be happening basically in the same place. And I think that it does a good enough job for sort of what is otherwise kind of, not heavy-handed, but like, you know, there's a lot going on that it sort of, it gives enough justification, like why this is all happening in the same sort of like few city blocks or whatever.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. And I love how Roman calls the drone a spaceship.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Everything's a spaceship. It's a planet. It's a spaceship.
That ain't a plane, that's a planet. Joe, do you have any other notes about this movie?
We covered all of the things that I want to talk about. I slid them in there.
So before we get to the games, we did not do our either-or questions. So we have a few of those from Mike here that we've not been able to ask before. So Mike, are you more of a Deckard or an Owen?
I'm a younger brother. I've got older brothers, so I'm probably more of an Owen. And I think Deckard is just I'm not that cool. I'm not that cool in like.
Same.
Like I couldn't, especially seeing him in the new trailer. Like I couldn't pull off that style. No, I'm his younger brother.
Do you prefer a Corona or a Belgian ale?
Corona. Yeah, I'm not a huge drinker. I'm more probably prefer just a cuppa, but I'll take the Corona.
This is one of Joe's favorite questions, I think. Would you rather jump your car into a plane, like they did at the end of Fast and Furious 6, or out of a plane? Like they do in Furious 7.
Well, I think I answered that earlier in the show during the scene I want to be in, but definitely jumping that car out of that plane.
I think into feels safer for me, man.
Oh, it's definitely safer, but I mean, you know, knowing that you're going to be safe no matter what you do.
Yeah, with the GPS, true.
There's one question we're going to save for next time, but this is maybe the final question that we ever added to this. This is a Joe question. This is my favorite question, I think. If you were in the Roman position where you have to distract an entire crowd of people, what karaoke song would you sing?
Ooh, okay. I don't know why this just came out right off the top of my head, but...
Go for it.
I saw the sign, and it opened up my eyes. You saw the sign, and you saw the sign. I know she saw the sign, right? And then I do the little, I saw the sign. Get all Roman with it.
Perfect.
Cool.
I love it. That's a good
one. To recap that question, Kim Basine said that he would sing Seal's Kiss from a Rose. Joe said he would sing the Bee Gees' More Than a Woman. And I would sing Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Yeah, because you want a song that's distracting, but you know the words too.
And something everyone could maybe join in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
First game. This ain't no 10-second race. A.K.A. boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Okay, I gotta find my tweet here.
So last time on the Fast and Furious 6 episode, I went to Honey Bun at Jenna Otrando. My goal in life is to be financially stable, happy with myself, live a life like with my husband, like Mia and Brian from Fast and Furious. Have 10 dogs and a huge makeup room. Is that too much to ask? Boy, do we have a podcast for you? No response. Joe, you found Watt Street Tavern at WS Tavern. Join us tonight for the musical talents of the Shaw Brothers from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Believe it or not, no response.
Oh, damn.
Mr. Mike Manzi went to at D. Hemsey, Dama, watching Fast and Furious 6 again. This is where it all happened. From street racers / hustlers to an extended family, with we die here or leave together mentality, it's obvious now why I need me a Letty to my Dom. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Mr. Mike Manzi got a retweet.
Whoa.
2 points for Mike Manzi.
Damn.
Those are two completely different dams, by the way, right there.
So Joe has 14 points. Mike has 9. I have 5. Chris podcasts with 1. Everyone else with 0. Now, Mike, you have 2 more episodes currently until you come back for a future episode. 2 more episodes to build your lead over me. So I'm going to give you both time. I have to find one for myself.
I got one already.
Have one? Okay.
I got one too. I come prepared.
Pop it in the Discord chat.
Okay.
Oh my god.
This is part of a thread, response 11 minutes ago, from Tomas Ford at Take Mikaguchi. Jamina had posted, would y'all believe me if I said I was 4'10"? And he just responds, no knees queen.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Joe, I've never guessed this before, but if I were to guess, we're going to get blocked here.
You're going to get blocked?
I think so, but I still sent it, because it's a great one.
Yeah. So maybe he knows what no knees means, and we need him.
Is that like a term? Like,
she's short?
For a short person? Wow.
I don't know. I was trying to figure it out, and I was like, this is good.
Man,
so.
it keeps going.
I don't know.
It just never stops.
Mike, what is yours?
I saw a bunch, and I was just like, every other week, it's like, what do I pick? And I was like, here we go. This is from Buy18 at Buy18 eShop for $31.68.
Oh, God.
Classic Fast and Furious 7 cross pendant necklace in 925 sterling silver with small and big size for lover woman.
For lover women.
And man.
Hot sale.
And there's a picture of the replica of the necklace from Fast and Furious.
So good. It's so good. Yeah, so this is like what is this? Like a DH gate, like a Chinese retailer?
I mean, I didn't even click on the link. I just saw the tweet and
I am.
You let the audience know.
Yeah, this is like Chinese retailer, it seems like.
Okay.
It's pretty cool though. I want this fake Dom necklace. Joey, why don't you buy me one of these?
Because I'm still jealous that you and Wes are leather wrist cuff buddies, and I'm out here in third.
Now, my question about this is, can you fit a tracking device inside it?
Ooh, maybe.
Maybe in that middle part right there, yeah.
So here's somebody that I don't think would actually like our podcast, but I like the tweet, I like the GIF. Amaretto, hashtag SWCC, maybe Southwest Comic-Con, some kind of maybe Comic-Con, at Lee Punzel says, you, Hobbs and Shaw, me, Blumhouse / Dark Universe, hashtag CinemaCon, and then it's a GIF. On Wednesdays we wear Pastel Goth, which I don't know what this is from. It looks, it's a sort of a
kind of like it.
Mean Girls parody, maybe, but what's that from? Do we know who that's from?
No, but I like that Blumhouse is going to, I guess they're taking over the Dark Universe with Invisible Man soon, so
I don't know.
Is she excited about that?
Guess.
I don't think that this person is going to like our podcast, but I hope that we get a hate reply. Like I'm good.
Like, leave me alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we have Joe and Mike, and Joe already knows. We have a car picture from Wes. Mike, there's 2 episodes left. Do you want to, I feel like 1 and 1, do you want to guess tonight, or do you want to help give?
So tonight, I believe I help give.
Okay. The only thing that Joe knows about this so far is that it is, in theory, an easier car than
last time.
There's 2 pictures. I'm going to send you both of those. I'm also going to send you the full body of the text that Wes sent me. Wes says, a couple weeks ago, I had some free time at the house by myself, so I watched a bunch of older, in parentheses, pre-MCU, supposedly bad superhero movies that I hadn't seen before. I watched both Ghost Riders, which he was tweeting at us about, and I was like, if you like the first one, wait till you get the second one. I was like, he pisses fire. It's great. Go check out Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. He says he watched both Ghost Riders, Green Lantern, and Green Hornet. They were all entertaining, but I really enjoyed Green Hornet, and was surprised it got as much flack as it did, which is the Seth Rogen movie, which I remember liking vaguely, but I also remember, I think, having really, really low expectations.
Christoph Waltz is in it.
Everyone hates this movie. I was like, oh, it's kind of fun.
I still got to see it.
Of course, a big part of the Green Hornet mythos is his car, and so if you know about it, I don't know if you know what kind of car he has.
No.
In the movie, it's called Black Beauty. These pictures are black. So Wes says he thought it'd be a perfect subject for this game. So here's some stats. This is a 1965 car. It's American Joe.
Okay.
The original show used a 1966 version. The movie with Seth Rogen used a 1965 version.
Okay.
This particular car was this company's line of luxury automobiles.
Okay.
Produced from 55 to 75 and then 81 to 83. One of them, apparently an 81 version, is used by one of Braga's men in the tunnel chase through the Fast and Furious.
Fuck, what was that? Okay.
So there's 2 pictures here. So again, as I said, it is black.
Okay.
It looks like a missile, kind of.
Okay.
I guess. So they're different cars because one looks like unless one it's a convertible, the other one it has a hard body shell on top, unless that's a top that comes off, but I don't think so.
It's got 4 headlights, 2 on each side.
Yep. And
4 headlights, okay.
And a very, sort of got like a internal computer sort of style grill, like very thin little, like very tightly knit crosshatch pattern sort of.
Yeah, lots of grading.
The back, the rear, like the trunk, it juts out like there's a spare tire at the back, but I don't think that there is. I mean, there might be. Who knows?
There's very thin taillights.
Very cool taillights, yes. It's very thin, sort of triangular. Kind of looks like a helicopter propeller.
Yeah, weird.
Okay.
The logo is... I'm not going to say what it is yet, because I think that might give it away. We can come back to that in a little bit. But the logo as a whole kind of looks like a lock that you would put a key in and sort of turn.
A lock?
A little bit.
It's got like circular rear view mirrors that sort of stick up off these like little posts.
Yep.
So like outside rear view mirrors.
Yeah.
Little posty ones. Okay.
I mean, it's definitely got a classic car kind of look.
Is it a Pontiac?
No, but I don't think you're too far off.
Is it an Oldsmobile?
No.
It looks really long too, wouldn't you say?
Buick?
No, but you're in. It's still in that classic American car.
Mercury?
Nope.
Cadillac?
Mm-mm. So here's what's something maybe
ahead,
possibly
keep going.
interesting. The logo now is different from the logo that's on the car. The logo now is more of a star. The logo on the car is an eagle.
Chrysler?
It's a Chrysler.
Okay.
It's their luxury line of cars. It's a difficult one to... It's sort of an unremarkable... It's a cool looking car, but it's kind of unremarkable, I think, in a way. Like
It looks a lot like other cars at the time, I think,
Mm-hmm.
like especially luxury cars. Like
it kind of has like a classic Cadillac kind of feel. It's not a
That's what I
Cadillac.
was saying,
Yeah,
like
it was
Oldsmobile
sounding
even.
Cadillac-y to me, with the like tire on the back and the propellers in the back.
Yep.
And I don't know what Chrysler's like big cars were. Do they have like a 500? Is it a number?
I don't know. I don't know. It's not called the 500.
Okay.
There's not a ton
Chrysler.
more
kind of-
to describe about this car. It's a two-door convertible or two-door sedan.
Can I give a hint about the name?
Please.
It's kind of a royal name, maybe?
Yeah.
Like it invokes royalty?
Both names. There's two names that they both invoke royalty.
Chrysler Town and Country.
Nope.
That's more Connecticut.
Yes, it is. No, I'm hung up on all of the other cars. Like, I'm thinking like Buick Riviera or Pontiac Bonneville. I don't know
I
what
drove a Bonneville
Chrysler's
in
like.
high school.
Yes, yeah, you did. That's right. I forgot. I'm thinking, what did Chrysler have as their like flagship luxury car? I don't even remember.
I don't know that we can really describe it better. I think it was supposed to be easier. I think
No, I just don't. I don't remember the flagship car's name. Like I have no idea of it. Like my brain's just blank.
it's the Imperial Crown. I just put the pictures in the chat.
Oh, like a Crown Vic, yeah.
Is it a Crown Vic?
I don't know.
It doesn't look like a Crown Vic.
No, but I'm saying like that's what the name reminds me of,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
No, this is a really cool car though.
It's a cool car, but I think it's unremarkable in its description, sort of. You know what I mean? Like it's...
This reminds me of like when Roman goes, "Are you going to give Martin Luther King his car back?"
Yeah.
It looks like it could be this car, right?
So it's the kind of car
Right.
that Martin Luther King was assassinated... No, that was JFK was assassinated in it. What kind of car was JFK assassinated in?
Oh, I don't know.
I know, I mean, it was a convertible.
Yeah.
What kind of car
Lincoln
was
Continental.
Tupac in?
1961
Yeah,
Lincoln
see,
Continental.
Lincoln. I was thinking of Lincoln too.
But it's got that classic American car. Like it just feels
This
like
is really cool.
all like every kind of old song that's about a car kind of looks like this. You know, in my head.
Yeah, this would be like a really sleeper old car to get.
Yeah, cool car.
If you were a fan of the Green Hornet, this would be like a really cool ass car.
Well, it looks like a
roll up.
Batmobile almost, right? Like I could see why the Green Hornet
Yeah.
drives it around.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a janky Batmobile, right?
Right,
Like it's
right.
not. It's
When
like
you
it's like a
you don't
generic
want-
one.
Yeah, if you don't want people to know you're a superhero, but you still need like something slick to drive at night, you know, because the Green Hornet, I don't think he puts a big Green Hornet on the side of his car. I think he's more incognito than that.
Yeah, this would be cool. I wonder what the inside looks like. I would like to like drive one of these. I bet it's like big and clunky and fun to drive.
Probably.
Too.
It looks.
Would
big
you like to
and clunky.
drive it between two buildings in Abu Dhabi?
No, because it would just sink.
It would get like nowhere. It would just drive down the side.
Yeah,
of the
Wile E.
building.
Coyote. It would just like run off the edge and be like bloop, straight down.
Well, thank you, Wes, for sending the picture. And if you have a car picture you want us to
It
guess,
was easier. I'm a little mentally fried. It's a little late. Doesn't matter if it's better or easier or worse, but
Yeah.
because I didn't get that one. So
Send us car pictures at family@cageclub.me. We can try to guess it. We will hopefully get them better. I would love to play a game where there's a couple card pictures. I think there's a couple times that like multiple people have sent stuff in, but
yeah, it's fun.
Family at Cage
Are you guys ever going to get to a lap where Joey has to guess and Joe 2 gets to give the
That
clues?
would never. That would be terrible. It would never happen.
I don't think there's a repository that it'll work. Like you.
It would be like me trying to guess what baseball player Joey saw. Like at dinner that time.
God. I would be like, this is the name of it. You'd be like, are you sure that's the name of it?
So as we were saying earlier, we have one more episode to go in this lap. Fate of the Furious. The Mikestir will be here with.
Hopefully, we come around on it this time, right?
It's found its place for me. I don't think it's gonna move this time. I'm not against it. Like, I still like it. It's a lot of fun and everything. But yeah, we'll get there. We're almost there.
I'm ready to hit the tipping point for us, where like we're like, you know what? It's not that bad.
I would love that.
I never thought it was bad. Like, in
comparison, but like if you watch them in the
but...
scope, then it's glaring how bad it is. Maybe you're gonna be the one that comes through next time and be like, oh.
Maybe this time I'll be like, oh, I can't stand it instead. But
Who knows?
See.
The three of us have already talked about this movie. That we were very specifically talking about Charlize in this movie. But over on Watch This Throne, we talked about this movie. So go check that out if you want a little bit of a preview of what the next episode could be like. That'll come out in 2 weeks.
And maybe some stuff we won't mention.
Yeah.
The next episode.
April 23rd, that'll come out. And also, like I mentioned at the very, very top of the show, in 2 days, on Thursday, April 11th, Joe and my episode of Public Enemies for Magic Mike's will come out. So go check that out if you want to hear more about us, or more from us about Channing Tatum. And then 2 days before the next episode, on Sunday, April 21st, come back for the boyfriend material episode of Drive. So a lot of
Easter.
Yeah, the Easter episode of Drive. Yeah. There's no better Easter movie than watching a movie where Ryan Gosling brains a guy with a wrench.
Exactly. Dom Toretto's him.
Yeah.
But Mike, thank you for joining us here. We have one more episode, and then you'll be back. So next lap we've talked about, Joe and I are going to do a quick detour in the middle for Hobbs and Shaw, but then at the end of the lap, when we do Hobbs and Shaw a second time, you'll be on that. But you still have one more this lap, Fate of the Furious, right along, continuing, but we're nearing our destination.
We are.
But thank you for being
in sight.
Destination on your left.
Yeah, that's right.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
I know, man. It's been so much fun. I don't want it to stop, but all great things have to eventually come to an end, and
go on for infinity.
Except for this podcast.
I was referring to my guest spot on the podcast. Of course, it's in the title. This show's going on forever. I mean, not every good thing comes to an end. Some of them do go on too long and burn out.
Too long.
I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you now.
I know.
I just
okay,
can't, be happier to have been on these shows so far, and the next one's going to be great too. So
for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you can go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/cageclub, or at cageclubpod on Twitter and Instagram. Go to our Too Fast, Too Forever Facebook page at facebook.com/Too Fast, Too Forever. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Too Fast, Too Forever. If you don't want to wait for merch, if you want to buy merch, if you want to buy weirder merch than we will ever offer through the Patreon, you can go to cageclub.threadless.com.
Duvet covers. You want duvet as shower curtains.
If you want a Too Fast, Too Forever skateboard, it's a thing that you can get.
Skateboard. Sick.
Family at Cage Club, that'd be the most important thing. Send us a note. Say hi. Oh, here's actually, if you listened all the way to the end, which I hope that you did, I want to do a sort of a more serious, not serious because none of this is really actually serious, but a more serious recap of like what our favorite movies are collectively. Like I have like close to 20 different ranking lists. So if you want to update your list, if you're listening, you haven't emailed in, if you want to send in your rankings, if they change, Joe and I on the relap recap are going to do ours, and next episode we're going to get Mike's. The end of next episode, we'll get Mike's final, for now, 1 through 8.
I know some have shifted. I know that for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
But send us in, family at cageclub.me. Leave us a review on iTunes. We will read it on air. If you want to get real high and play at slow speed, that's fine too. Whatever.
We didn't tell Mike about
whatever
that.
floats
That's
your boat,
funny,
man. Just go do all those things. But the most important thing, family at cageclub.me. Send us an email. Just let us know you're listening. Say hi. Send us your rankings. We love to hear from you. It's genuinely my favorite thing about doing any podcast is getting emails from people that we don't know saying that they listen and they found us and they want to keep listening.
To you guys.
It's the best.
Yeah.
I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And that was Mike Manzi, the Mikestir. And we will see you in 2 weeks for the Fate of the Furious right here on Too Fast, Too Forever.
I know you came here to see if you a freak, then you come home with me. And I know what you came here to do. Now bust it open.